World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
After 8 months, the HyperX Open Series here on World Pro Racing comes to its inevitable conclusion, and it's the 9th and final time. We've given away 24 HyperX products over the course of the last 8 months, and tonight it's the final countdown. It's the final 3 positions on the top step of the rostrum. It's Alex Goldschmidt here over in the United Kingdom and live and direct from the World Pro Racing studios in Malta. Recently cleaned up after a recent flood. Simon Zamet joins me. Simon, a very good evening.
Hello Alex, good evening. How are you doing?
All good. Good to hear that everything was cleaned up shipshape fashion over there in Malta ahead of I think it was a private gathering earlier on this week.
It was, yes.
Here we are, Friday night. It's GT3 action. It is Kyalami, the Grand Prix circuit, which has been open since 1961. It's actually the host circuit of the Intercontinental GT Challenge, the 9 hours of Kyalami, which in real life, due to the current pandemic situation, has now been rescheduled to the first weekend of February. But as always, a big welcome to all our viewers on the esports television network, motorsport.tv, and of course Malta's TVM Sport channel. Once again, a big thank you to all our partners and backers that do help us keep things going, as well as the state-of-the-art facility in Malta. AMD, HyperX, where we're all gamers, the GT Omega Racing crew, and also Thrustmaster as well. Simon, Kyalami, a very, very stern test for our drivers here tonight. Lots of elevation changes, lots of technical parts, but also some full throttle action.
For sure. It's one of those tracks that you really need to understand and get to grips with if you want to go fast. So that's going to be the real test for our drivers today.
Indeed. Let's head trackside because free practice is now underway. And just really a reminder of the format. It's going to be a 15-minute practice session, a 15-minute qualifying session, then we have a sprint race in duration is 30 minutes, and then we have a feature race of 60 minutes. Both races will have a mandatory refueling stop. There'll be a 10-minute pit stop window for all drivers. There's one of the regulars from GT Omega RPM Esports, absolutely flinging the Bentley into the pit lane, Sheldon Muscat. We've got the likes of Luke Whitehead, and also in the recent update on Assetto Corsa Competizione version 1.8, the brand new 2022 BMW M4 GT3 makes its first its first foray onto World Pro Racing. And Simon, you know, this car has really courted a lot of controversy, notwithstanding the road-going version, but in all honesty, it looks a bit of a beast, doesn't it?
It looks absolutely gorgeous, and specifically the Saristo's car, the green livery, delightful. Yeah, we have a lot of them racing today. There are, if my math is correct, 7 of them so far. Not sure if there are more later, but that's a lot of BMWs.
A lot of Munich's finest. I mean, what was it? Team Schubert have just received their first M4 GT3. There's been quite a few drivers actually developing this car, the likes of Augusto Farfus, Philip Eng, and also there's a bit of a correlation between real life and sim racing as well, because the steering wheel in these cars are actually produced hand in hand with Fanatec. There's Vyacheslav Volodoya. Now, for those wondering who the 199 in the Porsche is, I would imagine that's probably Lucas Ziga from Coach Anna Academy, but he's gone all acrylic for us. Yeah, and there you can see the 199. It has gone on to the mint choc chip Porsche, as I'm going to nickname it, with that bright green paintwork. But on offer for the winner of this event, it will be the HyperX Alloy Elite 2 keyboard. For second, it's going to be a Cloud Alpha S headset, and then also the Pulsefire Haste mouse will be for the third step of the podium. Also, if the top 3 drivers from the previous event, like say, so if they get I think if memory serves me correctly, Simon, if they get a podium in the sprint race, they get an automatic points deduction depending on where they finish in the feature race later on. And that can spice up the ante a little bit, can't it?
Definitely. You know, it's one of those things where you always want as many points as you can. So immediately going into a series or a race with a bit of a deficit, you're going to have to work that much harder. But at the same time, it encourages more close racing and closer finishing the championship. So for us as viewers, it's going to be great.
Indeed, track temperature's absolutely ablaze at the moment, 33 degrees Celsius. Track temperature, it's at optimum, so we've got dry running. There's Carly Atkins in a very nice little, needs a bit of blue in there to really add that BMW Motorsport charm on that car. Carly Atkins, actually a real-life karter, has competed in X30 this year, including the Kyalami X30 Euro Series. We've got some regulars here. Oscar Saristo from Finland. We've got David Ohak, Silva Pirmets, Gergely Kunsabo, Pedro Gomez as well, running under the Butlerpal Motorsport crew. But Carly Atkins about nearly 0.6 of a second off of Luke Whitehead, and Luke Whitehead has really made a name for himself ever since I started commentating on pro racing. I think it was some point last year, as Ivailo Boychev goes through. Miles Saun, another driver from Estonia that sometimes does tend to frequent here, has gone with McLaren's finest, the 720 SGT3, affectionately known in some sim racing circles as the Torque Monster, because from its twin turbo V8, and that's not how you negotiate your way through. I think that might have been through the coming out of Clubhouse Bend there. No, actually, that was barbecue, and all this talk about corners named after certain ways of cooking food is going to start getting me hungry in a minute if we're not careful.
For sure, yes. Corner names are always a fun thing, aren't they?
They are indeed. It's better than having, like, say, turn 1, turn 2.
Absolutely.
We've got the Jux K Sweep, we've got Sunset, and yeah, it's just really one of those things where you're seeing drivers absolutely pushing at the moment, and it's looking rather competitive. I mean, we've got Wojciech Neuwirth from Team Shark running at the top 7. They're covered by 1.1 seconds. Wojciech in the 64 BMW is just under 1.3 seconds off the pace, as Pedro Gomez running in the brightly coloured Lamborghini Huracan, car that we don't really see the love here on Assetto Corsa Competizione, but it's good to see that Pedro Gomez has decided to bite the bullet and go with one of the Italian thoroughbreds, as we're less than 60 seconds away from completing this free practice session. But Luke Whitehead has been pushing, and he's putting in the 1:40s. And considering the fact that the actual race lap record at this circuit was done by Matt Campbell for GPX Racing, the Porsche 911 GT3R in the 2020 Intercontinental GT Challenge. So already in free practice, we're the best part of nearly 2 seconds up on that race lap record, but qualifying is going to be a completely different matter altogether, isn't it, Simon, in just a few moments?
Definitely, it always is. We've seen time and time again where the drivers who are on top of practice either continue to dominate through qualifying or kind of falter a little, and you see drivers who have maybe not been pushing as hard as they can strike up to the top of the leaderboard. So it's always a game between these drivers. They always want to best their opponents and get those highest positions.
So Chequered is out for the session. Wojciech Neuwirth from Team Shark in the 63 threads his way through the bottom part of the mine shaft. Here's a bit of a roller coaster ride coming through Loikop. A lot of amendments have been made on this circuit, but at the moment, with the fact that this circuit is actually owned by Porsche South Africa, it's quite fitting that the 911, number 21, Luke Whitehead, is currently leading the way in free practice as Neuwirth comes across the line. And will the Aston Martin improve from 7th? Not quite. Silva Pirmets, one of 2 Estonians in this gaggle of cars. And yeah, as you were saying earlier on, Simon, 7 BMWs, so 70% of the top 10 are all BMWs. Silva Pirmets coming through in towards Cheetah, now into Ingwe, the 16th and final corner. What's the flat out racing number 23 BMW got in the tank? And to find out as Rizzo crosses the line down in 12th place. Pirmet stays 9th, but Luke Whitehead already showing good pace ahead of qualification and half a second ahead of Carly Atkins. Porsche versus BMW in GT racing has been a battle for the ages in multiple different categories across the world, be it in Asia, be it in Europe, be it globally. But Porsche seem to have the home track advantage, considering who owns this track at the moment.
For sure. Luke Whitehead, we've seen time and time again. You touched on it briefly earlier. He's such a good driver, and he's so consistent as well. Once he gets into the zone, he really knows how to just place his car exactly where he needs to be to get the lap times. So if he's feeling confident around this circuit, if his car's working, I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
I think he could be the one that puts the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons tonight here on the HyperX Open Series on World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real. A big thank you for everyone tuning in. We are going to get underway with qualifying, but Simon, we've already touched on a couple of the nuances of this circuit. You know, there's some significant elevation changes over the course of its 60-plus years of operation. Kyalami has gone through the ringer, so to speak, in terms of the adaptive changes. It's hosted 20 South African Grand Prix. It's a mecca for 9 hours of GT racing with SRO. And tonight, you know, these drivers they're going to get plenty of track time. That's one thing. But the prizes that they're going to get is something that's going to really help them in terms of not having to bite the bullet and have to pay the money. But qualifying's about to get underway now. But you know, these drivers are really going to start pushing, and Luke Whitehead already on his outlap is pretty much up to full speed. He must have gotten the tyres warmed up on the rear of that Porsche 911 rather rapidly.
For sure. I think he's one of those drivers where he's not going to want to waste any time. Yeah, as you're saying, this track is challenging. It is not easy, but it's not easy to make mistakes, but it's one of those tracks where there are a lot of opportunities to make them. So I feel like he's going to want as much track time as he can to really streamline his lap times.
Okay, so after this we're going to get a real sense and idea of the qualifying lap times. Let's go on board with Luke Whitehead on board on this 4.529 kilometre circuit. Accelerating to over 220 kilometres an hour in 5th gear through the kink. Now down to the left-hander here at Crowthorns, going down the gearbox into first. Around about 80 kilometres an hour, you're now going to start building speed through the sweeper right here at the Juxcapay sweep. And then up towards the next left-hander at Barbecue, down to 2nd gear. Use a little bit of apex, let the car drift wide. Someone's already been in the barriers, and that was David Ohak. That's not what you want to do. Release this early on in qualifying. Now into the right-hander here at Sunset. Neatly done. He's just carrying the speed through, carrying the momentum through, using as much of the curb as he can without invalidating the lap time. Through Clubhouse. And now we're going to get another real sense of the elevation change. Down the dip into the S's. Through the left into the right, now up the hill towards Loikop, and it's a deceptive double left-hander. So 200 kph, 4th gear, hard on the brakes, down to first, turn the car in, rotate it, and then through the next left-hander you're building speed, and you're going to get a real sense of the speed that these guys are going to be carrying through the corner, up to 5th, 220 kph, and climbing. Down into the right-hander here at the Crocodiles. Don't want to be too greedy on the curb on the right-hand side because that could fling the car 2 wheels up into the air. Now up into the next left-hander, and that was the next right-hander, that was Cheetah. Down into Ingwe, 1st gear, turn it, point, apply the throttle, and out of the final corner, Luke Whitehead sets the benchmark. What's it going to be? 1 minute 40.447.
That is a lap time that is, I believe, only 1 or 2 tenths slower than what he set in practice. So already he's really, really on the pace, and he's really, really quick.
Yeah, Carly Atkins already, nearly 7.5 tenths of a second. Ivalo Boychev, 4th. Here comes Gergely Kunsabo, another regular, goes P3. 1 minute 42.332. Luka Ziga from the, who was it, Coach Anna Academy in the minty green Porsche 911. Where's the German going to factor in? Goes P6 in the 199. 2 seconds off the pace, so at the moment it's Whitehead, Atkins, Sheldon Muscat up into 3rd place, Gergely Kunsabo. And Wojciech Neuwirth rounds out the top 5. Here's Finland's Oskar Saristo, WPR's equivalent of the Flying Finn. Shown good performances over the past year and a half, the likes of GT3 and GT4 machinery. And There has been a bit of a change in the updates with regards to version 1.8 for Assetto Corsa Competizione, as the Finn goes up into 4th position. Good lap there in the BMW M4 GT3. 1 minute 41.927. The dynamics has changed in terms of setup characteristics and also how the cars handle. So it's been a fairly new update, and the drivers have got themselves up to speed pretty quickly. Luke Whitehead absolutely flinging the car to Kingdom Come through Cheetah, through into Ingwe. His last lap was a 1 minute 40.447. A little bit squirrely on the exit of Ingwe. He comes across the line. What's the lap time going to be this time? That was not an improvement there. Carly Atkins goes quicker. 1 minute 40.890 from the 210. Based out of the UK these days, but has Jamaican heritage. Wojciech Neuwirth dropping down the order a bit like a stone at the minute with the Aston Martin, with that rumbling 4-litre twin-turbo V8. Comes out of the final corner, currently 8th position at the moment. And goes P3 within 1.1 seconds of Luke Whitehead. 9 minutes and 10 seconds still to go, but Whitehead is the driver to beat. Lucas Ziga looks to be in 9th place. There's Andrea Rizzo, running in the Oman Racing with TF Sport livery. Looks to have got, I think that was Silver Pyramids behind, possibly. Rizzo goes 12th, makes that 13th, as Pedro Gomez has gone 12th. Bolodoya has gone 11th. Oscar Saristo now going through in towards Ingwe again. Currently P8 on a 1 minute 41.927. Finn out of the final corner in the 97 BMW, about a minute away from the halfway point, and Saristo gets within a second of Luke Whitehead. This qualifying session here, Simon, is rapidly getting spicier by the second.
It definitely is. We always see this as qualifying goes on, the lap times always drop. But saying that, the gaps between specifically Whitehead and Atkins is a bit larger than we tend to see. 4/10, it's not a lot of time, but it's also not something small. It's not something you can very easily make up on a single corner, for example. So Atkins going to have to work very hard to try and close that gap, as is Saristo, who has almost a second to make up. Same with Neuwirth, even more. So it's going to be fun to see if they can actually challenge Whitehead or if he's got in the bag. As I say that, Carly Atkins has just set a time only a 10th slower than Whitehead, so that is a lot more competitive than we've seen from some of the other drivers so far.
Definitely, that puts him on a 1 minute 40.565. And that's even without looking. See, it's quite funny when you have to do mental arithmetic rather quickly when it comes to qualification. So Atkins is putting on a flyer in the 210 BMW. David Ohak. Oh, as someone's gone very wide. That was the Aston Martin just up ahead of Ohak that just went wide. That would have been Rizzo in the number 98 Aston Martin. But David Ohak across the line goes P5, drops Sheldon Muscat out of the top 5. And Sheldon Muscat, the only driver sticking with Crew's finalist in the Bentley Continental GT3. So Ohak also making sure that the BMW shows a bit of pace, and the top 6 drivers covered by just a fraction over 1.1 seconds. But the BMW M4 GT3, it's a fairly new car on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Everyone's been waiting for it. It's been out on racing, on iRacing for such a long time, and finally ACC get it, and you know what, it looks absolutely brilliant, and I'm really pleased to see that this car is now finally being used. And Luke Whitehead back out at the moment. Don't forget to head to our official website, worldproracing.com, to find out about future events. Obviously this is the last one that we've got currently on the website, but you never know, there might be something coming up towards Christmas and New Year, who knows. Might even have to join us for our end of year show if we have another one like we did last year, which was a lot of fun to be a part of. But Luke Whitehead absolutely ringing this Porsche 911 GT3R by the scruff of the neck, coming out of Clubhouse with no quarter given, down through into the S's. Very striking livery as we're into the last 5 3/4 minutes, but Luke Whitehead has now got to start putting some distance between himself and Carly Atkins. But qualifying's one thing, Simon. The 2 races, the sprint and the feature race, are going to be completely different. You know, Whitehead could put it on pole, but Atkins could get the jump on the rolling start in the sprint race. Who knows what might happen?
Definitely. And I think the start is really where a lot of the position change is going to happen. Simply by nature, the cars are all close together. And then it's a question of who has the more pace, who has the more consistency, and who can save their tires and fuel the best. Both races have a mandatory pit stop, so strategy is going to play a part, as it always does in these HyperX races.
Indeed it does. Okay, right. I think we are having some questions. I think might have to keep an eye on the Twitch side of things because we're broadcasting there as well. Getting notified by the studio. That's the thing when I'm what is it? Probably the best part of over 1,000 kilometers away from the studio in Malta. But I'll have a look at that in just a second. But Wojciech Neuwirth from Team Shark running P4. That Aston Martin, Simon, also looks a bit hooked up, doesn't it?
It does. He's driving it well. He's currently less than a second behind Luke Whitehead, which, looking at the majority of the grid, is quite a respectable lap time. He's driving it well, and because I am, despite being Maltese, I sound very British, and therefore have a soft spot for Aston Martins, because they are gorgeous cars.
Yes, yeah. You know what? To be honest with you, I completely, I bow down before you, Simon, on that front. Well, I mean, the thing is, I'm going to keep an eye. I've got live chats open, both on YouTube and on Twitch. So if you have got your questions, please throw them in. We want to hear from you out there in sim racing land. So fire some questions our way. We'll so if Justin, behind the scenes at Studio Production, can send us the question, I'll be able to hopefully answer it. Either myself or Simon will. But Sheldon Muscat looking a bit racy in the Bentley. Nice exit out of Ingwe there for the Bentley Continental GT3. Can he improve out of P6? Well, that looks to be possibly his best lap so far, and he's actually incrementally got the gap closer between himself and David Ohak, but he still rounds out the top 6. In this session, we've got about just over 3 minutes to go. Wojciech Neuwirth might have an opportunity if the Aston Martin comes out of the pits and does one more flying lap, but Luke Whitehead has pushed the gap between himself and Carly Atkins. Vyacheslav Volodoya in the number 7 BMW, rounding out. Is that Grease Lightning 5? A big thank you there from Justin for putting that through. Is that why there's so many BMWs out on the track? Yeah, that's the thing, Grease Lightning 5. As soon as a new car comes out on Assetto Corsa Competizione, everyone's all over it like a rash as Volodoya comes across the line to complete another lap, goes P10, 1 minute 42.180. So yeah, I mean, I've even heard rumours, Simon, that there's going to be more cars coming to ACC in the not too distant future, which is rather exciting.
Definitely. It's always fun to get new toys to play with. Especially with these games, the drivers are so used to these cars. Whenever they get a new one, they always just gravitate towards it. They try it out, see where it works, see where it doesn't. It's like a new little obsession for them. Which is, again, always fun to see. Like, we have so many of the BMWs here. So clearly, some of the drivers just want to have a feel of it, see what it's like, and compare it to the others that they normally drive.
I'm wondering if Pedro Cruelas Gomez is having a bit of a mare at the moment, because I just saw the 77 Lamborghini Huracan beached. And that was coming out of Loikop, going into the mine shaft of all places. You don't want to drop the back end of the car there during the race. I mean, in qualifying, not a problem. David Ohak testing the limits of the circuit. That might have invalidated the lap, but we're going to find out as the number 13 car comes out of Ingwe as we're coming into the final 60 seconds. Oh, that was a belter of a lap. 1 minute 41.157 puts Ohak up into P3. Lucas Ziga looking to hopefully push his Porsche, the number 199, up the order. So we'll find out as through into the bottom of the mine shaft goes Lucas Ziga, Coach Anna Academy. Lucas Ziga also another regular on the Assetto Corsa Competizione community platforms. And through into Cheetah, now into the right-hander here at Ingwe. Ziga will have another chance at another flying lap. But Whitehead still is the driver to beat here in qualification. Lucas Ziga powers across the line. What's it going to be? P5. 1 minute 41.395. Luke Whitehead He's going to get another flying lap in as well as the number 21. The PPR esports driver across the line. Does not, well, that was an out lap. Here we go. Let's see if Luke Whitehead can push that gap to over, well, to maybe even more than 0.2 of a second ahead of Carly Atkins. Neuwirth is in the pits. Ziga is in the pits. Volodoya, Kunsabo, Saunen Rizzo, all in the pits. Silva Pirmets is the first to cross the stripe as the check-in is out for the session. And Pirmets is 11th, 1.785 seconds down off of Whitehead, who gets a bit of a tank slapper going through into sunset, manages to correct it. Cat-like reflexes there from the PPR esports driver. I still remember when he used to run with H3 Racing with Hamada Erguizi. It's funny how things have changed over the past few months. I've been busy with other commitments such as social media and real life commentary, but it's good to see some familiar names. Carly Atkins will not improve. David Ohak, Wojciech Neuwirth, Luka Ziga, Oscar Saristo, 6th at the flag. Ivalio Bojchev now coming through in the FDS Racing 64 BMW through Ingwe. Will the 64 improve out of 8th position, out of the final corner and across the line to get to the checkered flag? Bojchev does not, well, does improve, puts in a personal best, but does not improve in terms of position. Sharon Muscat, this is his final chance. Will the Maltese driver come out of the final corner? Will the Bentley push its way up the order past 7th? Going to find out very shortly. Oh, gets to within 3/100ths. And Luke Whitehead puts in a 1 minute 40.315, securing himself on pole position. I knew that as soon as he'd done that outlap, Simon, I don't think anyone could have touched him. And he showcased that all the way through qualifying and free practice.
I have to agree with you. He was absolutely incredible in qualifying. Carly Atkins got very close to him, a very respectful 10th and a half behind. But I think even on track in the last few minutes, Luke Whitehead was one of the last people to cross the finish line. So he would have had probably the best track conditions over Carly. So in that sense, he had he set himself up to do really, really well in this qualifying. And pole position for the race. So I'm pretty sure he's not complaining with that.
I'm sure. If I knew Luke Whitehead, he will never be complaining whenever he's on pole position. I know Carly Atkins is thinking, well, he's got the jump on me in qualifying, but in the race, it's going to be a completely different kettle of fish altogether, because they're on the front row. They're going to be controlling the rolling start. They're going to have all those drivers behind them, which will include another 6 BMWs. But we're going to go to a brief commercial break here on World Pro Racing, so join us very shortly as race 9 of the HyperX Open Series continues, live here on World Pro Racing.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
Right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The HyperX Open Series. Please excuse the print in the background. Paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. It's always the same here at this office here in the United Kingdom. I'm on further travels back to the Middle East in about, what is it, just over a week's time. But it's Alex Goldschmidt and Simon Zammit back with you. Simon, very interesting qualifying session. Luke Whitehead on pole, Carly Atkins alongside, a 30-minute sprint race. Oh, this is getting rather exciting, and one of the biggest things here is that these drivers are going to be put through the ringer over the not just over the 30-minute race, but also the 60-minute feature race, both with mandatory pit stops, a 10-minute window. They've got to refuel, it's a mandatory requirement. This is for the final 3 prizes out of 27 for the HyperX Open Series, and these guys must be fired up.
Absolutely. I mean, they've gone through the practice session, they've gone through qualifying, the practice they've done at home before this race, and now they're here. They're on the formation lap. They're going to get, I say one chance at a start. Like, they're going to get a start, well, 2 obviously with both races. But this is where Luke Whitehead needs to not drop the ball and keep his lead, and Carly Atkins needs to make sure that doesn't happen. So it's going to be a very fun race, specifically between those two, who seem to be they seem to have a pace, just a bit more pace than the rest of the field.
Yeah, I think one of the other interesting things is the track temperature has dropped 4 degrees since the conclusion of qualifying, and, well, we have got a track corner called Sunset, and that visibility could play havoc going into the sweeping right-hander at turn number 5, but it's going to be a full formation lap, so your starting order for the sprint race, 30 minutes in duration with a mandatory 10-minute pit stop window for mandatory refueling for all competitors. We have on pole position Luke Whitehead in the 21 Porsche, Carly Atkins in the 210 BMW M4 GT3 alongside David Orhak makes it another for Munich in the top 3 in the number 13 M4. Then it's Wojciech Neuwirth in the number 63 Aston Martin. Row 3, it's Luka Ziga in the 199 Porsche 911 and Oscar Saristo in the 97 BMW. Ivalio Boychev and Sheldon Muscat, BMW and Bentley round out row 4, completing the top 10. It's Vyacheslav Volodoya and Gergely Kunsabo, both in a pair of BMWs. Silver Pirmets, Pedro Culas Gomez in the Sol Lamborghini Huracan in 12th, and we've got Miles Saun, Andrea Rizzo, and then I see a couple of other cars. I see a lesser spotted Honda joining the party, the 732, and that is of a E-Hall there at the back, but it will be down to Whitehead and Atkins. And one of the biggest things here, Simon, you've got, as you said, Whitehead can't drop the ball on the start because that's going to put him right up against the mid-pack, because these cars are going to be absolutely banging doors going into Crowthorne for the first time.
100%. I think Whitehead has a bit of an advantage that it's a rolling start, so there isn't as much. He doesn't have to play around as much with traction and making sure he doesn't get too much wheel spin. It's a little easier, not obviously straightforward. He still has to make sure he does it right, he goes at the right time. But if it was a standing start, he might have more to deal with. As is, I think it's going to be pretty much a straight fight between him and Carly Atkins for the lead out of turn 1.
Indeed, through Ingwe, the 16th and final corner at this 4.529 kilometre Kyalami Grand Prix circuit. Red lights on the starting gantry for the final race out of 9 for the HyperX Open Series. We wait with bated breath.
Green light. Give it on.
And now the green flag waves, we're off and under away. and it's Whitehead who's got the jump on Atkins. Ohak battling away with Neuwirth, who goes to the left-hand side, heading into Crowthorns for the first time. Whitehead goes to the far right-hand side of the approach into Crowthorne, gets the job done. Atkins still in second, Ohak in third. Ziege looking up the inside through the Juxkay sweep on the Aston Martin, and Ziege has not yet got through as they get through barbecue for the first time of asking, but already Luke Whitehead has probably got the best part of nearly 0.4 of a second heading into the right-hander here at Sunset. Luca Ziege looking towards the outside of Wojciech Neuwirth and does not get through, but it could be a different story going through into Clubhouse. Now they're going to go through into the S's. Pedro Gomez has dropped down ahead of Rizzo in the number 98 Aston Martin. And Whitehead has already got a 7.5 of a second advantage over Carly Atkins. Ohak has a further 0.6. Neuwirth and Ziege are literally banging down each other's doors as we ride on board with Milisson in the 777 McLaren, being chased down by Oscar Seristo. Seristo looks up the inside through into the left-hander here at Loikop and could get the run, but Sound uses the absolute torque from that 4-litre twin-turbo M840 McLaren engine to power him through the bottom of the mine shaft and keep 11th position. Well, that's effectively the battle for 10th place, but that was brilliantly done by Milisson ahead of Volodoya. My apologies there, I thought it was Saristo, but Saristo was about 1.2 seconds up the road. Volodoya a little bit off the track going through into Cheetah, but Luke Whitehead leads the way comfortably ahead of Carly Atkins as we head on to lap number 2 of this sprint race, 0.9 of a second ahead of Carly Atkins.
That was such an action-packed opening lap. But yeah, Luke Whitehead got absolutely the perfect start. Carly Atkins had to defend from David Ohak a little and couldn't really attack. But he managed to keep his position in second place, so now he has to get his head down and try and close the 9/10 gap that he has.
Exactly, that's going to be easier said than done over this distance, and Carly Atkins is already starting to chip away with minuscule amounts at the moment. I mean, the track temperature will cool, but that will give the engines more breathability over the course of the duration. The server time showing at 6:10 p.m. here at the Kyalami Grand Prix Circuit opened back on the 4th of November 1961. So basically just over a month ago it celebrated its 60th anniversary. The same year as Roy House also celebrated its 60th anniversary this year too. So 2 tracks, 1 karting, 1 Grand Prix circuit, both celebrating 60 years in operation. But things are bunching up a little bit. Looks like we already have 5 seconds being added to Andrea Rizzo, I believe, possibly for might have had a slight contact with somebody else. I'm waiting for our race control team led by real-life FIA steward Adrian Ficalo, ably assisted by George Muscat as always. But Volodoya chasing down. Oh, exit stage left by Volodoya, and that is going to allow probably Pedro Gomez closes in the Barwell Motorsport liveried car, the number 77 Lamborghini Huracan. And look at the run Pedro Gomez has got. A bit of adjustment on the steering wheel there. Going through into the kink. Gomez has got a real good slipstream on the BMW, and there we go. Gomez nearly got through. Yep, incident. So Gomez, it was down to an unsafe rejoin that Andrea Rizzo had, and that was in front of this car here, Pedro Cruz Gomez, who has a bit of a wobble going through barbecue. Now that's Hall in the 732. Eddie Hall from Durag Racing, representing Saudi Arabia, judging by the flag there. It's a good thing I'm starting to know about flags a bit more, thanks to my recent trip to Oman. Funnily enough, the place that I visited just so happens to be the same as the last name as one Sheldon Muscat on this grid at the moment. How funny is that? We have someone representing Saudi Arabia, but this battle here for 10th position, Simon, between Sound and Volodoya has definitely got Chinese fireworks written all over it.
Definitely. We've already seen one mistake from Volodoya, so he's managed to catch back up to Son relatively quickly. So now it's a case of regathering himself, finding a better place to overtake, and obviously not making another mistake. because he doesn't have that much of a gap now to Gomez behind, so he really can't afford to run off the track like he did earlier.
No, and realistically that is going to hopefully not cost him, but the 732 of Hall has dropped all the way down to 13th, bit of a run wide from Volodoya. David Ohak is coming under fire once again from Wojciech Neuver, this time going through Crowthorne. Now into the right-hander here at the Jux K sweep. The sunset is quite quickly coming around as Volodoya up the inside on sound through into Crowthorne. The BMW might have a good run of traction coming out and going through into the Jux K sweep. The BMW's done it, so great job by Volodoya to get past the Estonian sound, and that's starting to open the floodgates. But it's not going to help if one of the drivers is going to go flying around the outside. That looks to be Gergely Kunsabo, I believe. This has got past Andrea Rizzo for position. No, there is Gergely Kunsabo. So, yeah, rocking the old BMW M Sport Motorsport livery. Eddie Hall trying to close in on one of the cars ahead. That is Nathan Thomas. Nathan Thomas, and Festa PWR on Twitch says, has the grid gotten smaller due to it being the last race? Well, there's a lot of leagues out there, Festa PWR. Oh no, Eddie Hall taps the left rear of Pedro Crulas Gomez going into Loikop. I'm sure that's going to be investigated. Now another 5-second penalty, this time to Sheldon Muscat. That was on contact with Eddie Hall for an avoidable collision. So two drivers that will have to serve 5 seconds in the pit stop before the refueling can take place. And yeah, Festa PRW, Simon, literally about that incident between Gomez and who was it? I can't remember who that was. I think it was Gonzalo. Literally just went bonk. I mean, that sums it up to a T, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's one of those things where when you're already under such heavy braking, the lightest bump will send you so wide, and it's unfortunate for Gomez, I believe. Yeah, I believe it was Gomez who ran wide. It's unfortunate for him to lose so much time, essentially under no fault of his own.
And Pedro Crulas Gomez has ended up in the pits. I think probably, I would imagine, that's going to be repairing that damage.
It must be. It's not the mandatory pit stop yet, so he can't be in here for his mandatory stop. So this must be, it's clearly unscheduled.
Yeah, that looks to be damaged, because as soon as, for those wondering, when do you see the pit stop window opening? Well, when it says pit stop window, underneath the actual race time duration and also the amount of, well, the actual time on the server as well. Silver Pyrmets coming under fire from two cars now. So it's a Bentley sandwiched in the middle of two BMWs. Silver Pyrmets trying to pull away from Sheldon Muscat with Oscar Saristo in 9th position. They go down through the mine shaft at a rapid rate of knots. And Silver Pyrmets goes left to cover off Sheldon Muscat. Going through the crocodiles now into, approaching to Cheetah. Left-hander. Nice and neat and tidy from Pyrmets. Through into Ingwe they go as, oh, Saristo outbraked himself a bit there. And also another the 5-second penalties are being handed out significantly. Don't forget, you can find us on, well, on the World Pro Racing Facebook stream, YouTube. We're also broadcasting on Twitch. Don't forget, we're on the Esports Television Network. TVM Sports in Malta, so greetings to all our fans over there, and of course motorsport.tv. There's been an avoidable collision penalty given to the 777. Oh my goodness me, it seems like the 77 of Pedro Gomez has been absolutely assaulted by two of the other members of the opposition. If you want to talk about the penalties being handed out, so Oscar Saristo has got past Sheldon Muscat. So one penalty handed out to Milis Sorn for a 5-second penalty for an avoidable collision on Pedro Gomez. And then the 732 of Eddie Hall also having a penalty for his contact with Pedro Crulas Gomez, and that would have been in Loikop earlier on. We're on board with Sheldon Muscat, about nearly a third of the way through the race. Oh, look at that correction for oversteer. Saristo's got a real good run coming out of the second part of Loikop. Looking towards the inside of Oscar Saristo, going through into the mine shaft. Is going to be side by side for 7th position. They bang panels. Oh, they say that rubbing's racing, but pit stop window now officially open. And Saristo has done the number on Silver Pirmets, who takes way too much curb. Going through Cheetah, and Pirmets jumps into the pit lane. Lucas Eager's already gone in there too. So the first couple of drivers might be running a little bit lighter, and that could be a bit of a strategy call there, Simon, because if you feel a little bit lighter going into the first part of the race itself, you can actually really do a strong undercut here at Kyalami.
Definitely. I do think that for Silver Pirmet specifically, it might have been a bit more tactical, seeing as he just lost a position. He was coming under threat from Schultz and Scott Muscat as well. He might have just dived into the pits to kind of try and get himself some clean air and get away from the drivers who were trying to attack him. But I agree with you, this track does suit an undercut. You can, with fresher tires and lighter fuel, you can really set some really good lap times while the others are trundling around on their destroyed tires.
Yeah, so very good point. Festa PRW, we've already mentioned it, it's fuel only. Tires, it's their decision, but they will put them into the pit stop window for a little bit longer. It's about a 30-second stop with tires, if you set it to that. But Luke Whitehead already nearly 3.8 seconds up the road from Carly Atkins, and there is the second placed BMW M4. 8.5 minutes window left on the pit stop phase of this race, and if they don't do the mandatory pit stop, it's normally a 2-minute 10-second penalty if you don't do a pit stop in a race here on Assetto Corsa Competizione, and that can hurt you big time, especially if you're going to try and gun for one of those top prizes here tonight. But Luke Whitehead now nearly 4 seconds up the road from Carly Atkins. You know what? I think Whitehead and Atkins are trying to embroil themselves in their own battle. And they've pulled away quite considerably from David Ohak. But I've got to be honest here, Simon. The pace that Carly Atkins and David Ohak have shown in the BMW, as has Oscar Saristo, as Andrea Rizzo now serves the pit stop and will serve the 5-second time penalty for a collision earlier on in the race. The BMW really has brought a bit of an added dynamic here on ACC, hasn't it?
It really has, and I think it very clearly, maybe it's just the track, maybe it's the car itself, but it really has some pace. If you look to the top 6 drivers, 4 of them are in BMWs. So there's clearly something, obviously it might be a bit skewed because of the pit stops, but there's clearly something about the car that works around here. And as Atkins and Ohak are showing, the car does suit this track. Ohak obviously a bit under fire from Wojtek Nieuwert, but as we see here, defending, not necessarily defending right at the moment, but very much under pressure. He's not going to be able to put a foot wrong if he wants to keep his third position.
No, and that depends obviously who's going to blink first and pit. So that's the biggest.
For sure,
that's
yeah.
The 64,000 euro question that's got to be answered momentarily, as we're fast approaching the halfway point of the pit stop window. 16.5 minutes to go. Neither of them have blinked. Valio Boychev running at the top 5, still circulating as a rider with Wojciech Neuwirth in the number 63 Aston Martin from Team Shark. Then it's the King once again. And for those wondering, on the left-hand side of your screens, if it's green in that section by their race number, they have pitted. And the top 8 have yet to do so far, but it looks like Pedro Cruz Gomez, with significant damage to the Lamborghini, has called time, probably not just on the race, but may have done so on the rest of the evening. But this is a great battle for P3, and there's less than 4 tenths separating them as they go through the first intermediate on the 3 sectors here at Kyalami. So Whitehead leads by nearly 4.3 seconds. David Ohak being challenged by Wojciech Neuwirth, Ivalio Boychev, Oscar Saristo, Sheldon Muscat and Gerli Kunsabo, the 8 drivers that have yet to pit, whereas everyone else from Ziga, Pirmets, Volodya, Hall, Rizzo, Sound and Thomas have all taken their mandatory pit stop. And I think, I'm wondering here, Simon, if Ohak gets the legs on that BMW going a bit further up the road, that's exactly what's happening. he's going to have to do one hell of an in-lap if Neuwirth decides to pit now. We're now halfway through this 30-minute sprint race, so it's dependent on who blinks first. Will it be Neuwirth to try and get the undercut on Ohak, or will Ohak have to go hammer time? It's not going to happen this lap. I think they could be leaving it right up until the last maybe couple of moments, because looking at the lap times, they're running, what, 1 minute 42s, 1 minute 43s. So maybe in a couple of laps' time, I think that'll be the last chance as Boychev and Saristo both go into pit lane. That'll bring us to 6 cars left, including these two on our screens here. Neuwirth looks really, really racy. I think that Aston's got a little bit less fuel than BMW. Ohak might be going longer.
It could be, but I think the position Neuwirth's in is that if he waits until the exact lap that Ohak pits, odds are they're going to come out as they are right now, and nothing's really going to change. So I think Neuwirth has to kind of bite the bullet a bit, maybe pit a bit earlier, hope that he can have, as you said, a monumental outlap, and try and overtake Ohak that way. But there's also the flip side, which is that he does clearly have pace in that Aston Martin, so he could risk it, keep the same strategy as Ohak, and trust that he can overtake him on track. He hasn't managed yet, but he's been so close that Ohak is completely under pressure at this point. There's no way he couldn't be with a car that close behind him so consistently.
Yeah, I pretty much side with you on that one there, Simon. But we are into the last 3.5 minutes of this pit stop window here on the first of 2 races for the 9th adventure for the HyperX Open Series here on World Pro Racing. Broadcasting live on eSports Television, motorsport.tv, and also the TVM Sport Network in Malta. We're also broadcasting. There we go. Ohak blinks first with 3 minutes on the clock. So Neuwirth has got to put the hammer down in that Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT3 4 litre twin turbo V8. Has got to roar its way around this 4.528 kilometre circuit, and that brings us down to the final 4, maybe even the fantastic 4 that have yet to pit so far with 2 minutes and 40. But I think the strategy that has been employed by the likes of Neuwirth, the likes of Muscat, Atkins and Whitehead, this really puts them in a strong position for you know, for the top 3 prizes here this evening here, Simon. I mean, they've got nothing to lose but everything to gain.
I have to agree with you. I think it'll be interesting to see how Neuwirth filters out against Ohak, because this is one of the closest battles we have on track at the moment. But because they were so close, how is the extra lap going to affect Neuwirth? And equally, how is that extra lap going to affect Ohak? Obviously, he's pitted first. He's going to be a bit slower on this lap, but he's going to be able to push like hell when he gets out of the pits.
Exactly. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, there is a 60-minute feature race after this one. So don't touch that dial, as they used to say back in the late 80s and early 90s when it came to cable television. Luke Whitehead pits from the lead on lap number 11. He's done a sterling job so far. Atkins now pits. Wait and just see. I think Neuwirth and Muscat, this will probably be their only time. So if they don't pit, there we go. Neuwirth and Muscat will... now, Muscat now pits. There we go. Everyone will have pitted. And Vortex24 saying, shout out to Simon, he's my mate. Vortex24, good evening. You probably know that YouTuber name, don't you, Simon?
I have a suspicion of who it is, but yes.
Ah. Well, there we go.
Amazing. Was not expecting that, so hello.
Well, it's me, Alex, he said. Good evening, Alex. Oh, crikey.
Hi, Alex.
We're going to start getting confused. Don't worry, that's not my YouTuber ID. I've got my own name for that one. Because then otherwise it would be popping up. And Festa PWR asking if there's going to be another ACC series. Well, wait and find out. Keep your eyes peeled on worldproracing.com to find out, because now it is just under 30 seconds away from hitting the 2/3 mark of this race. Nearly 20 minutes completed, just over 10 minutes to go, and Luke Whitehead here at the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit is leading by just over 7.6 seconds ahead of Carly Atkins. David Ohak running at the top 3. Wojciech Neuwirth, after that brilliant stern defense on Luka Ziga, still remains in 4th ahead of the 199 Porsche. Oh, bit of a battle here, Ivalo Wojciech, and here comes the flying Finn, Oscar Saristo, waiting for his next bit of prey to overtake. And
you say waiting.
Into like, I cannot believe he's look at that. That's ridiculous from Saristo, pinning the car around the outside of Wojciech, heading into Loikop. Brilliantly done there. He's going to get the run going through into the Crocodiles here through Mineshaft. Wojciech's got to keep that thing on the racing line. Saristo goes to the left to try and do the old Nigel Mansell dummy back from the 90s. Can't get through. They're going to go into the left-hander here at Cheetah. But Saristo has unlocked some pace in that BMW. And I think that one of the cars that might have been Milis Saun up ahead that ran wide coming out of the final coming out of Cheetah. And now, oh, that's a bit cheeky from Wojciech. Blue flag's way. Wojciech's trying to use the slipstream, but look at the toe that Saristo's getting. Saun needs to get out of the way. Saristo pulls to the right, going into Crowthorne's hard on the anchors. Down into first gear, looks up the inside. Could he put it around the outside of Wojciech going through into the Jukes sweep? He has to hold back and wait for another opportunity. But between the pair of them, they're not just battling here, Simon. Look how close they are to Luka Ziga, just up ahead in the 199 Porsche.
Yeah, it's kind of strange to see two drivers battling that hard and yet still making time on the car ahead of them. Usually when you battle, you lose so much time because you're taking funky lines and having to slow each other down. But these two just have the pace, specifically Oscar Saristo, like you were saying. The Flying Finn, indeed, he's got something in the back of that BMW that Wojciech clearly doesn't. He's so fast right now.
Yeah, I mean, going through into the dip into the S's, Wojciech was very unstable going through on the curbs, and Saristo had that car pinned to the asphalt rather significantly. And now he's going to get the run down on him going through into the mine shaft once again, slipstreaming behind Wojciech. There's Sheldon Scott Muscat. Silver Pyramex is coming into this battle here. So this could be an absolute gaggle of cars, 5 of them battling over P5 if we're not too careful in the next 7.5 minutes. But Oscar Saristo is trying to make hay whilst the sun is setting rather than the sun shining right now here in the virtual recreation of the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit here in South Africa, not too far away from Johannesburg. This circuit based in Midrand in the Gauteng province, as we ride on board with Oscar Saristo in the number 97, heading down into Crowthorne's, breaking down from about 5th gear, 230 kph down to 1st. Up through the gearbox they go as they go up the hill, through the Jukes K sweep once more. Now into the approach into Barbecue, the left-hander down a couple of gears into 2nd, rotate the car. Power out of the corner, now through into the right-hander here at Sunset. And Saristo, no matter what trick he's tried so far over the last couple of laps on Ivalo Wojciech, the thing just can't get past the number 64 BMW side.
I feel like on this lap specifically, he might be holding back just a little to cool down his tires, cool down his brakes a little bit, so he can try again on the next lap. Because he was so close previously, he must have been wearing out his tires so much. Runs a bit wide. I could be wrong, because that looks like he's pushing a bit. So we'll see. Maybe it's the other way. Maybe Wojciech has kind of tended up to 11 and is pushing really hard to keep him behind.
Yeah, if he keeps on pushing like that, he's going to end up in another province, let alone staying in Gauteng. But going through Mineshaft, once again through into the Crocodiles. And Saristo knows that he's got pace in comparison with Wojciech, but Wojciech, let's be completely honest here, is doing an absolutely sterling defensive number on the number 97. Plus, with equal machinery, you know, they're going to have the little tweaks on the setup. Under braking, Wojciech's front end sort of piggybacks and, you know, bunny hops a little bit. It goes up and then it goes down. Whereas Saristo, the nose end drops down as it should do when, you know, you've got the engine, the transmission, all on the front of the car. But obviously being front wheel steer, rear wheel drive, there's no torque steer. There can be a possibility that you might light up the rear tyres a bit too early out of the corner and maybe cause the car to go into a spin. The drivers know that they can't afford to do that with what's on the line tonight. And Boychev was about 1.5 seconds behind Luka Ziga. Now that gap over the first sector line has now dropped down from 2 seconds to 1.762. Saristo's got a sniff at 6th. He was nearly half a second as Boychev and Saristo both run wide going through Clubhouse. This is going to go down to the wire here.
Absolutely, they're racing so close together, and with 4 minutes remaining, there really isn't too much. You maybe get 2, maybe 3, 3, maybe 4 laps in, depending on when Luke Whitehead finishes his current lap. There aren't that many opportunities left.
Yeah, there's not many because, I mean, you can see what lap times Saristo is doing at the moment, judging by the display on board that we're seeing right now. 1 minute 42s that they're doing at the minute. The gap between Boychev and Ziga has now increased to 1.9 seconds, so a little bit of a touch on the dusty stuff for both Saristo and for Boychev. One going through into Cheetah, one going out of Cheetah, now through Ingwe. Now Saristo's got Boychev exactly where he needs him to be. Can the Finn capitalise? We ride on board from the driver's perspective. And you can see that the mind game's already happening. Saristo sends it up the inside of Boychev. Through into Crowthorns. Boychev's got no other option but to run wide. He's going to come back at him. Through the Jux K sweep. Saristo's out of the inside line. And they touch. And Saristo sideways and glances the barriers. I think that is Saristo's chance at 6th position, thrown to the wolf pack, and unfortunately that's going to bring Muscat into the battle. Pinamet's in the meantime battling away tooth and nail with the other BMW, the number 7. Volodya at the moment going through into Sunset Bend.
Are we allowed to breathe yet? Because, wow, first of all, the battle between Boychev and Saristo was amazing. Unfortunately, they end up in contact. But even cutting back here, these two, I was kind of looking at the lap times, and I didn't realize how Volodya catching up to Pyramids, well, not quickly, but it really is catching up. They are racing very close together as well, kind of like Boychev and Saristo. Different cars this time, they're not the no, my mistake, they're both in BMWs, just like Boychev and Saristo. So
it's like we've got 2 respective battles, and they're like 2 petulant children in the playground battling over the last swing to see who's going to get on there first. But
that is an incredible,
you know, at the moment,
metaphor.
Yeah, that's one hell of a metaphor, and I haven't started yet, Simon. I haven't started yet. The night is still young, my friend. As here we go. Saristo has got past Boychev. Where on earth did that happen?
I assume Boychev must have made a mistake somewhere.
I think he must have had an absolute howler of a mistake, and Oscar Saristo was passed for 6th position quicker than a rat up a drain pipe. And here comes Sheldon Muscat. You know, it's two BMWs and a Bentley. I nearly said it the wrong way round there because it's just been absolutely enthralling. We've just had a massive moment for Eddie Hall. And right, okay, well, race direction actually gave the instruction to Ivalo Boychev to basically give the position back to Saristo. So Saristo had the move done. I think it was Boychev's overzealousness that caused them to happen. Getting information from Adrian Figaro directly as Boychev again runs wide. Muscat nearly goes up the inside of him because there was avoidable contact. So good call by race control. We do expect hard, firm, but fair racing. Something like that where it's a bit on the limit. Good call by race control there, I would think there, Simon.
Absolutely. And throughout all this, you could say that the 2 main winners from that contact would be Luka Ziga, who now has a very comfortable gap to Saristo behind him, and Sheldon Scott Muscat, who's now so close to Boychev, he could very easily launch an attack and try and get the move done.
Right, yeah, and as you say that, the leader, Luke Whitehead, is now on the 18th and final lap of this race, as Sheldon Scott Muscat now closing on Ivalo Boychev for 7th position. Whitehead has led this race from lights out, and what's going to be very shortly checkered flag as he's going to make his way through into Sunset Bend for the 18th and final time. Ivalo Boychev trying to hold on in the run down to Crowthorne as Sheldon Muscat outbrakes himself a little bit there and nearly went into the back end of the BMW, but the Bentley very, very lucky indeed, as the timer officially strikes 0. And our leader now, Luke Whitehead, making his way through into Loikop for the final time out of 18 laps. There's the number 21 Porsche, and as they say, if you haven't been talking much about the leader, he's been doing a pretty good job at the front of the field. Down through the mine shaft, the exit of it for the final time. Luke Whitehead, fastest in free practice, fastest in time qualifying, and he's got a couple more corners to go. Luke Whitehead has started off the 9th inning, the bottom of the 9th, as they would say in baseball. He's going to come out of the final corner. Turn 16, Ingwe flashes the lights, and the number 21 Porsche takes the checkered and wins the race. So great job by him. Carly Atkins will take 15 points, courtesy of a 2nd place finish. And David Ohak hangs on as Wojciech Neuwirth gave the number 13 DJ Racing BMW M4 GT3 a run for its money. And the pair being 0.561 of a second adrift after 18 laps. A flash of the lights there from Wojciech Neuwirth. Lucas Eager takes P5 ahead of the Flying Finn here on World Pro Racing. Forget Kimi Räikkönen or Valtteri Bottas. We've got Oscar Saristo. Then we've got Ivalo Boychev holding on ahead of Sheldon Scott Muscat for 7th place, with the Maltese driving the number 14 Bentley from GT Omega RPM Esports rounding at the top 8. Volodya and Pirmets round at the top 10. Gergely Kunsabo in the number 82 BMW will round at the top 11. Ahead of Andrea Rizzo, Milisson, and looks like Nathan Thomas with Mr. Hall in the 15th place 732 car, rounding out the top 15. But Luke Whitehead takes a commanding victory. To be honest with you, this being the final out of 9 events over the course of 2019, when we kick-started things back off with, now looking at the circuits we've had this year on the HyperX Open Series, Simon. Monza, Silverstone, the Nürburgring, Misano, Spa-Francorchamps, Zolder, Imola, Donington, and to cap it all off here at Kyalami. I think it's been an absolutely wonderful journey, and I hope that the HyperX Open Series returns for 2022.
Definitely. This series has been so much fun. It gives the drivers an opportunity to win some prizes for really just having fun in a racetrack. It's such a nice experience for the drivers to explore tracks, explore cars, the GT3 cars, and just have a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we still got a 1-hour feature race here on World Pro Racing. Don't forget, it's not a championship. The thing is, this is just for fun. We're going to go to a brief commercial break. We'll be back very shortly here as we continue the 9th and final installment of the HyperX Open Series here on World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
welcome back for the final hurrah for the HyperX Open Series. 9 race evenings taking place over the past 8 months, and tonight we have 3 more HyperX goodies to give away. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. Once again, I'm joined with Simon Zamet, who is live and direct from the World Pro Racing Studios in Malta. Simon, we didn't really need to talk much about Luke Whitehead, who literally cantered away off into the distance like a prized racehorse and starts on pole position for the feature race. 60 minutes this time. If it was fast and frantic in the sprint race just a few moments ago, I hate to think what inner treasures we're going to unearth here tonight.
Well, hopefully, you know, twice the race length, twice the amount of fun. You know, we had so many interesting battles, so many close battles as well, and hard racing. Let's just hope for more of that. Like, as racing fans, that's all we want, isn't it? It's just cars battling on track, overtaking, and obviously keeping it clean, but racing really hard.
Yeah, so there we go, and oh, it's gotten a bit darker outside of the virtual recreation of the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit. 4.528 kilometers. Track temperature again has dropped once more. It's now dropped to 25 degrees Celsius. So here's your starting order for the 1 hour feature race here on race 9 out of 9 for the HyperX Open Series. This is not a championship, this is for fun, this is also for prizes. So the winner tonight will take home a HyperX Alloy Elite 2 gaming keyboard. Second, well, runner-up will be a HyperX Cloud Alpha S headset, and then for third position, a HyperX Pulsefire Haste mouse. Luke Whitehead starts from pole position. He's been the one that's been unbeatable here tonight. Can he carry on that trend over the next 60 minutes? We're about to find out very shortly as they're on the formation. Carly Atkins, second. David Ohak, third. Wojciech Neuwirth in fourth. Oscar Saristo in fifth, the head of Sheldon Scott Muscat. Ivalo Boychev, looks like we've got one, there we go. Boychev is in seventh. Volodya in eighth, head of Kunsabo, Pyramid, Saul, Rizzo, Hall, Thomas and Otti, rounding out the 15 strong. But with Luke Whitehead, if he gets another victory, so it's 18 in the first race, 25 points for the victor in this one. If he takes the top spot, he's going to have 3 points automatically deducted. However, the thing that I've got to sort of say here, Simon, looking at it from this perspective, he's got to basically finish first. Atkins has got to beat him on the road, and Atkins, if he takes a podium this time but takes a win, he's only going to lose 2 points, and that will basically mean that will be 1 point between Atkins and Whitehead. So Atkins needs to win, Whitehead, and he needs Whitehead to finish in third place at the end of the hour race. It's a tall order tonight.
Absolutely, and judging from Luke Whitehead's pace during every session we've had so far, really, he's been so consistently fast. It's kind of hard to imagine he'd, unless something goes wrong, obviously, this is an hour-long race, anything can happen. But it's hard to imagine him dropping below second. It'll be interesting if he does, if maybe a mistake happens and he has to claw his way back. Yeah, nothing's over yet, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So, Carly Atkins could absolutely win this, Luke Whitehead could absolutely win this. Or, if they both take themselves out of turn 1, David Ohak, third in the first race, if he gets a first place here, could absolutely take the well, not the championship, but the round victory.
Indeed. Race 9 of the HyperX Open Series here on World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real. Live on esports television, motorsport.tv, TVM Sport in Malta, along with our World Pro Racing Facebook, Twitch and YouTube streams. We are ready for one final blast, this time into the deep of night. The headlights ablaze on all the cars, 15 of them, 7.5 rows, 15 competitors, 60 minutes on the clock. Red lights on the gantry. It's Whitehead versus Atkins, once again on the front row of the grid. A little bit of a wait before we get the green flag. So the burble of the engines soon will turn into a roar as we go green. Pedal to the metal, and they make their way through. Oh, Carly Atkins getting squeezed by Luke Whitehead, going into the kink, and Atkins switches to the left-hand side, looks towards the inside. And all gets a little bit of a touch from behind. Wojciech Neuwirth trying to go around the outside of Atkins into Crowthorne now through the Jux K sweep. And Oscar Saristo trying to close on David Ohak as they make their way through Barbecue for the first time of asking. Luke Whitehead's advantage this time around is not as significant as it was last time around, but Carly Atkins really wanting to try and close that gap early. He had a run going through the kink, but Luke Whitehead put the squeeze, put the frighteners on him, and that allowed the number 21 to get away into the distance, but it's only by the best part of about 5 or 6 car lengths, with Wojciech Neuwirth, David Ohak, Oscar Saristo now in 5th position ahead of Sheldon Scott Muscat as Silver Piermetzers. Look at the gaggle behind Atkins, absolutely flying their way through into the approach into Loikop. You said about the fact that twice the race, twice the fun, Simon, and already within the first, what is it, minute and a quarter, we've already had it.
Absolutely. I mean, right at the start, Carly Atkins was significantly closer to Whitehead this time round, and Neuwirth has overtaken Ohak off the line, so hopefully we're going to get a reverse of that race they had in the previous, in the sprint race, because as we saw, those two were battling for pretty much, I'd say, half of that race. So if they can do the same here, we'll be kept thoroughly entertained, I bet.
Yeah, the flying fin again, Oscar Saristo in 5th place, Gergely Kunsabo coming under fire as there is a 5-second time penalty already being given to Gergely, not to Gergely Kunsabo, Eddie Hall in the 732. There's Tom Otti in the 69 Lamborghini. And really interesting. That is a flag I haven't seen on ACC yet, a mechanical black flag, aka the meatball flag. That's quite respective of it being in karting, but I don't think that's going to cause any harm or foul, as Eddie Hall's was the Eddie Hall train. He's got Gergely Kunsabo, Tom Otti, who's now ahead of the BMW. So Gergely Kunsabo losing a little bit of time to the Lamborghini Huracan. Tom Otti, well known within World Pro Racing ACC leagues and competitions, as I think that was Piermetz going a bit wide going through Clubhouse. Oh, again. And one of the other things I've noticed here, Simon, there is cloud cover overhead.
Yes, there is. Do you think we might be seeing some rain in South Africa? No. But yeah, the way ACC works, for those who don't know, is that it uses the live weather. So if it's cloudy in South Africa at the moment, it's cloudy in the game as well, which is a really interesting feature. Actually,
yeah,
I'm an idiot and I've just been told that this is not how this works. So ignore me completely.
Oh! Silver Piermetz is just the slightest tap on the back right of Tom Otti, sends the Lamborghini spinning. I'm sure that might be a possible investigation by race control as a result of that. So the thing is, with the Assetto Corsa Competizione, you can actually decide when rain might fall, and these drivers will have tested in a lot of different scenarios. Andrea Rizzo now getting past, well, is side by side with Volodya. Volodya was up into the top 10 in the previous race, but now is all the way down in 14th position. But Rizzo, what a move round the outside of the Jux K sweep, gets through. That's got to be one of the moves of the night, but Volodya trying to bring a bit of magic and goes round the outside of all places through Sunset. And then Tom Otti tries to get through as well, but Andrea Rizzo says, oh no you don't, sunshine. Wow, that's some brazen moves from Volodya and Rizzo, both having confidence in the machinery, as the server time showing 7:13 p.m. Right, Silver Piermetz has got a 10-second time penalty coming his way, courtesy of that incident involving him and the 69 of Tom Otti. And I'm sure that's going to be confirmed very shortly by race control, who are Adrian Figallo, our race director here at World Pro Racing, will, I'm sure, inform us via our messaging systems. But that says to me, slam dunk, 10-second time penalty. Silver Piermetz will be sitting in the pits for a little bit longer when the pit stop window opens.
Unfortunate for both him and Tom Otti. Obviously, Tom Otti got spun clearly by the steward's decision, was the innocent party in that, so unfortunate for him. But even for Piermet, to make a mistake like that and essentially not ruin his race, but ruin his chances at a very decent position, it's very unfortunate. As we see...
Oh, sorry, Saristo! Where on earth did you send that one from?
I believe that's what we call outbreaking yourself.
That was a lick the stamp and send it. You know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to find out what is probably one of the provinces in South Africa, because...
so your jokes are more accurate?
My jokes are more accurate in terms of because I didn't know any sort of.
They're going against again. Oscar Saristo up the inside of David O'Hawk, battling for 4th place very well. He's still up the inside. He's going to get the move done into the S's. A very, very good move. Planned it perfectly from before and just got done. David O'Hawk is seemingly struggling as now Sheldon Scott Muscat is going to take the opportunity to try to go round the outside into Le Coupe. Is he going to manage it? He keeps it out there. Credit to him. Can he keep it to the second pot? Not really. But he's going to have a good drive down into Mineshaft and then the Crocodile. So, as I say that, he goes up the inside into Mineshaft. He's going to try again into the Crocodiles? No, can't break himself in time. David O'Hawk just holds on to 5th place, but barely.
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not going to talk about provinces. I'm actually going to talk about places in South Africa. I think Oscar Saristo didn't send that from Johannesburg. He sent that from Pretoria, which is in the same province as well. You know, I mean, Saristo is giving us one hell of a show, and he's 3.9 seconds behind Wojciech Neuwirth. David O'Hawk is now being hustled along by Sheldon Scott Muscat. He's trying to look one way, then the other. And Muscat gets brazen around the outside through Crowthorns, through the Drix-K sweep. The pair still side by side, guys. This is a 60-minute race, not a 6-minute sprint. Come on. My goodness.
At this point, they don't care. They're having so much fun racing each other.
They don't give a damn. They don't give a damn. And here comes Muscat up the inside through Sunset. O'Hawk keeping it pinned to the outside. And through into Clubhouse. O'Hawk's going to get the run. Here comes Hall up the inside. Oh, bit of a door check there. O'Hawk off the circuit. Hall says thank you very much and gets through on the pair of them. That just goes to show you got one car that's charging. And to be honest with you, it's so nice to see. I'll be completely truthful here, Simon. As much as I love the BMW M4 GT3, it's so nice to see a Honda NSX do a bit of you've got served here at Kyalami tonight.
I have to agree with you. The Honda NSX is such a gorgeous car. And the livery on it, this purple livery, is amazing. I very much enjoy looking at this car.
Yes, indeed. It's the car itself in real life, actually built by the same team that builds all the FIA WTCR cars. Jazz Motorsport. Nat Thomas keeping it around the outside of Tom Otti. And that's a great place to do that through the Crocodiles. And there's Andrea Rizzo not too far behind. Through Cheetah they go. No one taking an obscene amount of curb. We saw that in the first race earlier on. And Luke Whitehead already after, 5 laps, is on to lap number 6. Is 1.35 seconds up the road from Carly Atkins. Wojciech Neuwirth a further 1.3 seconds behind as we're into the first 9 minutes completed. As Rizzo very close to the back bumper of Thomas there. Nathan Thomas coming through. That was Crowthorns through the Drix-K sweep. Now into Barbecue they go. Andrea Rizzo trying his utmost to get past. But no dice going there, and there is now Whitehead's dropped a little bit of time, and Sheldon Muscat's got a 5-second penalty coming his way. I would imagine that's probably for an unwanted contretemps with another competitor. That gap looks a little bit less than 1 second as both Whitehead and Atkins now make their way down the mine shaft. Well, it's 1.2 at the moment. This race, I think Luke Whitehead's playing it a bit more strategic. Okay, the 5-second penalty for Sheldon Scott Muscat was for an avoidable collision on car number 13. That was David O'Hawk. So that was the move when Eddie Hall managed to jump the pair of them and get up into 5th place. So big thank you to Adrian Figalo for clearing that up for us. And Eddie Hall will now. Right, this is not a mandatory pit stop. This is to get this 10-second penalty out of the way, I'm sure of. But wondering if that car might have a little bit of damage from a little bit of the squeeze that we saw earlier on Muscat on Ohak. So Hall is now going to sit there for a moment, probably do the 10-second stop-go penalty. Right, 10 seconds has gone. And you know what, that can actually be quite a good strategy call, Simon. Reference the second half of this race, because the minute Eddie Hall pits, I'd say watch out for the Honda tonight.
Do you think it's one of those strategies where, if I was driving at least, I wouldn't want to drive through the pits twice when it's only mandated that I do it once. So if he has the pace to make up that time he's going to lose, absolutely, I think it could work. It just depends on what he does in his second pit stop. If has a significantly shorter stop than all his other competitors, I think it could be a really, really good strategy.
And we'll wait and see how that strategy plays out, because there's still quite a lot of sparks flying. Look at that, into the deep of night. Wojciech brings up the sparks, so does David Ohak, who rounds out the top 8. And, well, there's still 7 BMWs. Nathan Thomas is the last one out on the circuit in 11th position. But Luke Whitehead with, what is it, the best part of nearly 12 minutes completed. 7 laps almost completed now for the 21. He's just coming out of Ingwe as we speak. And it's going to be, well, it was 1.7 seconds over the last lap with the last timing beam. It's now 2 seconds between him and Carly Atkins. Wojciech Neuwirth in the meantime, that Aston Martin is starting to incrementally catch that BMW for second position.
I think I have to agree with what you said earlier. I think both Whitehead and Atkins are playing a bit more strategically, possibly trying to save their tyres and fuel. Because at this point, they're, well, Whitehead more than Atkins, but Whitehead is leading this race pretty comfortably. So all he has to do is control his own pace, make sure he's not pushing too hard, so he can just make it to the end. Ultimately, if he comes first, he's going to win round 9 of the HyperX Open Series.
Yeah, exactly. It's it could be a foregone conclusion. However, it's easier said than done. Don't forget, you can find out all the relevant information for what we have in store on worldproracing.com. That's for weekly casual events, championships. Oh, we just had a message from Silver Pyramids. I don't know if you've looked at the Discord chat between us commentators, and we both started laughing because Silver Pyramids has just said, "I was a danger to society, so I'd rather retire." Well, to be honest with you, Silver, you weren't. He was actually doing pretty well.
I think he caused a couple of small collisions. I think that might be what he's referring to.
Oh, he said that in the HyperX channel.
I see. Okay, I appreciate some self-awareness and some humor. I can respect that. I enjoy that.
Oh, definitely. I think you know, it's one of those things where
has Eddie Hall just taken out Luke Whitehead?
Luke Whitehead has just been absolutely eliminated.
That
by
is
Eddie
not okay.
Hall.
Eddie Hall literally got out of the way of the leader, only to come back onto the racing line and absolutely shove him off the road. That is so unfair to Luke Whitehead. And very unfortunate for him as well. He had absolutely the pace to win this race.
He did, and to be honest with you, that was premeditated. I'm going to have a look back through what happened. I mean, if we can get a replay, a slow-mo replay of that. But that now means that Carly Atkins, I did say that something could happen, and that Atkins needed Whitehead to finish 3rd.
Well, I mean, a crash like that, Luke Whitehead's car is going to have so much damage. It'll be incredible if he can nurse it back to the pits and fix it up in time to go back to racing. But it's such a shame, really, to have a pretty close battle at the front be kind of just completely ruined.
More than ruined, I think he basically just. I'm going to see exactly where that happened on the circuit.
I believe it was turn 1.
So that would have been going into Crowthorns. So yeah, I to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of what has transpired. That it was completely uncalled for.
I appreciate you wording it lightly. Very much family-friendly wording.
I know for a fact. Yeah, that was going through into Crowthorns, and I'm just going to have a look. Oh, he comes out of the pits. Oh, he just no. Yeah, it was the slightest of.
Does he come out of the pits, or does he just drive off the racing line?
He came out of the pits because he was serving his 10-second stop-go penalty. Was his 10-second penalty? So that to me, I'm just going to have a look. Right. So I'm just going to keep. I mean, I know that Carly Atkins is still leading, but
yeah, Carly Atkins is leading, and
oh no, right. Eddie Hall moved to the left.
I thought so.
And yeah, moved to the left
because he was in the pits long before that. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm wondering whether there's been something premeditated, but I know for a fact that the WPR team will not be at all happy, and that has denied us of a battle.
Absolutely.
With the and yeah, Luke Whitehead not showing on the server at all. I would imagine that he is going to be absolutely fuming, and he has been denied the opportunity to be first at the end of this race.
Absolutely. I wouldn't want to be a glass on Luke Whitehead's table right now. I feel like you're getting a very quick flying lesson in that room.
Yeah. And I think this might have not been the first incidence of this actually happening, but yeah, I think realistically, Luke Whitehead will be absolutely fuming, and that's all we need to really say about that, because there's probably more than this than meets the eye.
Definitely, and massive respect to Luke Whitehead. Up until now, he's been completely faultless. So that crash was absolutely not his fault, and he shouldn't. He should be proud of the laps he put in until now, because they've all been so good.
Yeah. So this now means, ladies and gentlemen, with 42 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock, look at the gap between first and third. It's just over 2.2 seconds. And Wojciech Neuwirth was third in the previous race. Carly Atkins was second in the previous race. If they finish on the podium this time around, Atkins gets docked 2 points. Neuwirth will. Well, actually, it was David. Was it? It was David
O'Haka who finished third. So Neuwirth won't be docked anything.
Right. Okay. So looking at it from this perspective, so finishing P4, that's 12 points for Neuwirth. He's currently second, which is 22 points. So I've got. You know what's really, really good in these kind of situations?
Yep.
Having a pen and a notepad at your disposal. So, I'm going to look at it from this perspective. Now, Oscar Saristo, I'm trying to remember, was he 5th or 6th in that fifth?
I believe he was 5th, yeah.
So, 11 points in this race. It's currently P3. That's 19 points. That's a total for 34 Oscar Saristo. Okay? Neuwirth, so 4th in the previous race, 12 points. Plus second is 22. That is 34 points. Carly Atkins, so 18 points in the previous race, minus a 2-point deduction, plus 25. So that is 51 points.
While you continue with your maths, I am just going to point out that Oscar Saristo is now only 7/10 behind Neuwirth, and in 10 minutes we will have our mandatory pit stop window. So these cars are going to have to play strategy and really decide when they're going to pit to make sure they don't lose any positions. Now.
Yes, indeed. Very much the case. And yeah, this is where anything can happen. And to be honest with you, that gap is... Oh, look, that's less than 6/10. Saristo is flying.
Yeah.
And forget Finn Air, we've got Saristo Air right now, and look how close he is to the back bumper of Neuwirth. They're going through into Loikop. Atkins is probably going to be laughing at the moment because he sees... Oh, Saristo has sent it! He sent it right up the inside from South Pretoria. He's got it done. He knew he had the run on Neuwirth, and that BMW seems to have unlocked a little bit of pace in these colder conditions. because now we're into the deep of night, and you know, temperatures on the tyre pressures are going to drop. The engines are going to get more denser cold air into them. And to be completely fair, I don't discount the fact that Saristo now has clean air. Keep your eyes on that gap between him and Carly Atkins. It was 1.5. It's now 1.4 seconds. I think
Saristo managed to get that move done by only losing about 4/10, which for a battle is not a lot of time. He clearly has the pace. I think he can challenge Carly Atkins.
Carly Atkins, despite if he still finishes second though, Carly Atkins will still win the final out of 9 HyperX Open Series events here on World Pro Racing, and it will be by quite a considerable gap, because even if he finishes second, you know, that's still going to give him 48 points at the end of it all. So he doesn't have to. So right, well, let's see. Actually, hold the phone, ladies and gentlemen. I've got our World Pro Racing race director, Mr. Adrian Figallo, with us. Adrian, a very good evening to you.
Good evening to you, Alex, also. This was unfortunate. Actually, it's something that we saw the 2 drivers join in the first race. We were monitoring them actually very closely.
Yeah.
It was E-Hall and Thomas. The first race was fine, but unfortunately it seems that obviously something happening in the second race. This is something we're taking very, very, very seriously, because we don't tolerate actually such behavior in our races, as you well know.
Yeah.
And we already took the decision that obviously enough understanding that there was a premeditated thing on Whitehead. Look, Whitehead still will get his prize for today, because it was very, very clear that he was leading the race strongly, and it would have also ended up. And obviously enough, when something happens on him like that, we're still gonna give him a keyboard, as you well said, and obviously enough, even the winner of the race itself will get that keyboard also.
That's a very noble decision there, Adrian. I really do appreciate you taking the time. I know things have been rather busy over tonight's proceedings, but really a big thank you to you as always, and also your right-hand man, Mr. George Muscat, doing a fantastic job at World Pro Racing Race Control down at the studios in Malta.
Yeah, thank you.
So really good to hear there, Simon, from Adrian, giving us an insight into exactly what had just happened there, and that to me just shows how professional World Pro Racing is, and to say that Luke will still be getting a keyboard, and obviously the winner of this race, which is at the moment not looking to look at Oscar Saristo at the moment. In the few minutes that I've been talking, and Saristo is going to send it. Oh, he thinks better of it that time. Oh my goodness, Carly Atkins has got the fight of his life, and Oscar Saristo is giving chase. We're 36 minutes and 20 seconds away, and it's 2 BMWs leading the way, and Carly Atkins has now got to use all that karting nous of his in order to keep Oscar Saristo at bay. But we've seen it before. Saristo's been quick in a GT3, he's quick in a GT4 here on Assetto Corsa Competizione, and now Carly Atkins is at his mercy right now, going through the kink and into Crowthorne. As Saristo round the outside, is he going to keep it pinned there? He's not. No, Atkins forces him a little bit wide. Neuwirth is in the ringside seat waiting for something to happen through the Drix K-sweep, now into the right-hander here at Barbecue. This race is very much come alive, and we're not even at the halfway point, so Atkins leads from Saristo, Neuwirth rounding at the top 3. As they go into the right-hander here at Sunset Bend, Atkins holding on, Saristo keep giving chase, Neuwirth waiting for something to happen, and if I'm completely honest here, Simon, that I did say as soon as Saristo had clean air, he would have the pace to close up on Atkins, and now he's started to drop away a little bit slightly, but I think going through Loicott and down into the mine shaft, Saristo is going to be there or thereabouts with him, and if he puts one up the inside of the 210 going through into the Crocodiles, we've got a race on our hands.
I have to agree with you, and at the same time, like you said, Saristo had that clean air. He managed to catch up to Atkins, and he brought Newith with him in the slipstream. So these three are so close on the track, as we've already seen. They've already started battling side by side. So it's just going to be a case of sit back and watch the entertainment happen in front of you, because these cars are absolutely going to be fighting tooth and nail for the higher podium spots.
Yeah, pit window open as of 30 seconds ago, so from 35 minutes remaining to 25 minutes remaining, pit stop window for mandatory refueling is open. These drivers, I think, with the way they're running at this pace, I think they could be running towards the end of that pit stop window as Saristo trying to get the hustle on to get past Carly Atkins. Atkins doing a great defensive number at the meantime as they go through the Jux K sweeper onto lap number 16 of this race, and through into barbecue once more they go.
You have to wonder... I'm sorry.
Yeah, David Ohak now battling away with Tom Otti. Now after that spin, Otti has really brought that Lamborghini into prominence, and he's trying to get up. I think Tom Otti, the way he's driving the wheels off of that Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo, I would hazard a guess, and Tom Otti in the 69 Lamborghini, Simon, could be in the top 5 come the checkered.
He could be. There is a bit of a gap, 3 seconds between Konsawa and Ohak, so he'll have to get past Ohak quickly and hope he can keep his pace up through the remaining half to catch and then obviously overtake Konsawa. But, as we've already proven time and time again in this race, anything can happen and anything will happen. So,
Yep.
Tom Otti for the win is my suggestion.
Oh, that's a brave call, Mr. Zamet. Very brave call indeed, but we've still got 33 minutes.
Don't hold
of
me
this
to
race.
that.
You'll be the one that gets the resounding hit with the virtual saucepan if your guess definitely does go wrong, but I won't hold that against you. Carly Atkins has been doing a defensive number. Now, was that Saristo just losing out to Neuwirth? It was!
It was, yeah.
So has Saristo over... I think Saristo's been pushing so hard that BMW's going to have to come in, and it's going to have to take tyres as well, because in a 60-minute feature race, Saristo's got that car really, really hooked up. I think there was a bit of an unforced error from Oscar Saristo there, but Carly Atkins has kept himself nose ahead of the rest of the competition. David Ohak now in the pits from what was 7th position as Volodya now goes up into P7 in the number 7. Menes Saun from Estonia in the number 777 McLaren. Last of the 11 drivers we have here. Oh, that might have been a track cut there for Carly Atkins, and that's not what you want to do at this stage of the race. You want to make sure that you're razor sharp on your apex and your exits through respective corners. You can't afford significant track cuts. And one of the other things here, Simon, is that we talk about how fast these drivers are pushing as, I think Saristo had a massive moment there on the approach into Loikop. The car bounced from one side to the other, but he's kept it pinned. One of the things that we haven't talked about, physical and mental endurance on these sim rigs. This is not easy. The drivers have had to deal with differing temperatures. They've had to adjust their setups accordingly between the races. It has been far from easy, and I'm sure that everyone racing tonight is sweating buckets right now.
I have to agree. One of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to discourse around esports, as Neuwirth dives into the pits, I'll continue my thought in a moment. But yeah, Neuwirth is the first of the top 3 to blink into the pits, going for that fuel and tyres, well, possibly tyres, and trying to set some fast lap times to jump Aikens. That's going to be very interesting in a few laps when Aikens and Saristo both pit. But as I was saying, one of my biggest pet peeves around esports discourse is where they say it's just a game. Because, yeah, on the surface level, they are playing a game, but like you're saying, the physical and mental strain they put themselves through, sitting in what is essentially a race seat, just like any car, and having to, drive like you would a normal car. There's a steering wheel, there are buttons and things to do. You have to think about everything around you all the time. It is a very strenuous sport.
So we've got a yellow flag. Well, we had a yellow flag out there briefly, which has been retracted. And David Ohak's got the biggest slap on the wrist at the moment. He's got to stop go 30 for speeding in the pit lane. Oh, David Ohak will be kicking himself after that one.
We are halfway through. Keep pushing.
So halfway through the race of this It's and yeah, I think I'm just going to sort of touch back with what we had earlier on with that premeditated incident. Why did the leader get taken out deliberately? Well, his rally, yeah, it's not nice. We don't like seeing it. We're a professional organisation, and we have to act accordingly. And if that was in real life, and Adrian Figallo was your FIA steward, you would have the book thrown at you, quite literally.
I think you'd have your driver's license shredded in front of you.
Well, suspended indefinitely. All I'm going to say, if anyone might remember the karter Luca Corberi at the CIK FIA Karting Championships, yeah, you can be banned for a significant amount of time. Now, the pit stops are coming in. We've got 4 minutes to go on the window. Saristo is in. Muscat is in. Volodya is in. So it's just Kunsabo and Atkins. Looks like we've had another driver end up exiting or being disconnected from the server. So Saristo rejoins. Muscat now leaves the pits. Volodya is in the pits still at the moment. So I'm wondering. I'm going to be interested to see what the pace is from Saristo, because
he's exited the pits with quite a decent gap ahead of Neuwirth, unless I assume it hasn't updated in time. But yeah, so Neuwirth has lost a lot of time in that pit because he was ahead of Saristo when he pit. He was in second. Which begs the question, when Carly Atkins pits, is he going to also gain a significant amount of time? Is like maybe the overcut the strategy that's working better in these conditions?
Could be, but also has Neuwirth decided to go on a new set of tyres on that car, because that would explain a longer pit stop.
Could be,
here on the ACC platform. You know, if you're just putting fuel in the car, the car's not going to be up on the air jacks. And here comes the leader into the pits on lap number 19. So Carly Atkins in the 210 BMW. They're making his way into pit lane.
I think he must be correct, because Neuwirth wouldn't lose 7 seconds in a couple of laps. He must have changed tyres, where Saristo probably didn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. It just depends on... it could also depend on another thing. If Saristo finds that car has got a lot more... It's got a better prowess, a better centre of gravity, as Atkins now leaves the pits, I'm wondering if Saristo has decided to brim the tank. Now, people might think that my methodology is complete madness and completely illogical, but let me just indulge me for a minute.
I'm excited.
Sometimes when you put a new set of tyres on a car and you also put in a full load of fuel, one of the biggest things that is on your side is centre of gravity. With more fuel, okay, you're gonna literally bleed lap time, but you're gonna get traction, and sometimes traction is just as crucial to having that key lap time that you need through certain sectors. So I'm waiting to see, and Saristo now is 8 seconds behind Carly Atkins. We've got 1.25 minutes to go before the pit stop window closes. I'm going to keep my eyes on the differentials between Saristo and Neuwirth and see how that changes, because Carly Atkins, even if he hasn't changed tyres, the tyres will be cooler than Saristo and Neuwirth. Their cars will already be up to temperature on tyres and brakes already before Carly Atkins has completed his first lap out of the pit lane. Saristo's already indented that gap by about 0.2 of a second. Just depends on how hard Oscar Saristo is willing to push to get the final victory here on the HyperX Open Series.
It's definitely interesting. Going back to your strategy of like putting a full tank of fuel and tires, I think it would work best around tracks with a lot of traction zones. But one like this, where it's a bit more flowing in places, it has some like very high speed and medium speed corners, I can't imagine the extra weight is going to be particularly beneficial. I don't know, it depends on track dynamics, it depends on track temperature and everything, like nothing's ever one thing. So it'll be interesting. But as you're saying, the gaps are already falling for both Newith and Saristo. And also, between Newith and Sheldon Scott Muscat, there's only 6/10. So if Muscat can keep that gap and doesn't lose too much time, he could also be dragged along towards the top 2.
Yeah, as Andrea Rizzo now trying to close in on Tom Otti, who seems to be a bit further up the road. But yeah, closest battle we've got is the battle for P3, which is Sheldon Scott Muscat in the number 14 Bentley. And to be honest with you, Sheldon's done a really good job with that beast of a car. It's one of the heaviest GT3 cars that tends to be used on Assetto Corsa Competizione. But yeah, we're on to 20 laps. That's the best part of well over 80. Well, think of it this way. Hang on a second, I'm just working out my maths at the minute. It's probably the best part of well over 85 kilometres completed so far on this race. And you know, to be completely honest with you, Simon, no, it's 90. Yeah. It's just over 90.5 kilometres. So yeah, I think there's there's a little bit of a story I'm actually just hearing, courtesy of our team over in the studios at Malta. It could be someone that's using the Eddie Hall is either John Dolliver or CRG Leo, or someone using this person's profile on Steam. So.
Right.
Yeah, there seems to be a little bit more of a twist behind the cat's tail, so to speak.
Yeah, unfortunate for obviously Luke Whitehead and everyone watching that it just feels a bit sour. I'm glad that, like, Luke Whitehead is still going to get a prize for the incredible job he put in. It just sours it a little bit, but it doesn't take away from the incredible drive that Aikens, Saristo and Newith have been putting in. Same for all the other drivers, they've been doing so well. So at least we can focus on the good racing that's been happening and just permanently put Eddie Hall to the back of our minds.
Yeah, exactly. So, Andrea Rizzo. But Sheldon Scott Muscat has got the bit between his teeth. And the Bentley looking rather racy.
Sheldon Scott Muscat also at one point had a 5-second penalty, so for him to be A in 4th and be this close to the top 3 is an incredible performance from him. Like, he has some pace in that Bentley.
He does indeed. He does indeed. And with just over 22 minutes left to go, could the final step on the rostrum be in the hands of one Maltese driver, Sheldon Scott Muscat from GT Omega RPM Esports? I've commentated on Sheldon pretty much quite a lot over the last 18 months. I even commentated on him when he entered with Jack Noller into the SimGrid VCO World Cup, and also I think the Sprint Cup as well. So Sheldon, not a stranger to Assetto Corsa Competizione, neither to R Factor 2 either. He's one of the leading lights in Maltese sim racing talents, especially on this platform. And no matter what car he puts himself behind the wheel of, virtually speaking, he seems to do an absolutely brilliant job. There's Gergely Kunsabo in the 82 BMW M4 GT3. It's not too far behind it. Volodya's up into 5th ahead of Boychev. So, realistically, Kunsabo, if he gets a bit of the hurry up here, he can drop that gap from 2.9 seconds down towards a little bit further. And yeah, it's going to be a case of, if Gergely Kunsabo has that car hooked up, it might come alive a little bit more in the, maybe in the next 10 minutes, possibly. I mean, with the temperatures going down to 23 degrees Celsius, so it's dropped another degree trying to get through into this, and effectively, yeah, I think Muscat might get him probably in the next couple of laps or so.
I have to agree with you. Muscat's kind of, he's got the pace in that Bentley. I don't particularly know where he's got it from, but he does have, as he's going to go down the inside into the final corner. Can he get it done? They're going to run side by side out of the exit, down the start-finish straight. It does look like Noeth has just a bit more top speed, but Muscat's keeping his Bentley there into past the kink and into Turn 1, he just can't do it. That was fun.
Yeah.
Neuwirth,
A little bit of...
very well... Sorry, continue.
Yeah, a little bit of spice into there. Maybe a possibility of a Chinese firework or two. But Sheldon not able to make it count on that particular occasion, but with 23 laps in the books. And I think my theory has been proved 100% completely and utterly wrong, because I don't think that Saristo has actually changed tyres. If he had changed tyres, I think he probably would have been a lot closer to Carly Atkins than he is now. But Saristo has put in some pretty good lap times, because Neuwirth has been caught hand over fist. We go back to the battle briefly between Neuwirth and Muscat, as there's Milisson, the last of the 10 drivers still running. And there we go, Neuwirth is really coming under pressure. They're out of Loikop, and down the hill they go. And both cars rumbling their way through. Turbocharged 4-litre V8s, the pair of them. And Neuwirth taking a little bit of a wider exit through the Crocodiles now, through into the right-hander here at Cheetah. It's going to be close between these two, but if Sheldon Scott Muscat can get a good run coming out of Ingwe, and that car looks to be looking a bit racier than the Aston Martin, I think this is where Muscat needs to be at the moment. He's about 2 to 3 car lengths behind. Now down towards the kink. Muscat just needs to wait for the opportune moment to break out of the tow, and there he goes. Thinks better of it. I think he needed to be a little bit closer to the back bumper of Neuwirth there, Simon, in order to capitalise and get the straight line speed he needed to send it up the inside through Crowthorne.
I wonder if the Aston Martin maybe has a bit more top speed than the Bentley, because his best opportunities in the last couple of laps has been turn 1, but he's just never been close enough to pull it off. He's pulled out the stripping both times, but had to duck back into it. So maybe he needs to try and find a place to pass through the slower corners that are around the middle of the track.
Yeah, and it's getting a bit closer now through into the S's. I think one of the other things that we've got to remember here is that the Aston Martin, along with cars like the Ferrari and also the McLaren, the Aston Martin has a significant amount of torque, and oh, there's a little bit of a touch between the pair. A little bit of rubbings racing. Sports car racing is meant to be non-contact. You can see the torque of the Aston Martin absolutely working there. For Neuwirth, just kept it pinned around the outside through the mine shaft. Ahead of Muscat. Muscat's probably thinking to himself, what on God's green earth do I need to do to get past this Aston Martin right now?
I think, as we saw from the drive past the mineshaft, it does look like the Aston Martin has a bit more top speed, so Sheldon Scott Muscat's going to have to find a place where he can comfortably outbrake Neuwirth and just keep it pinned on the inside until he can drive out the corner. But, because as you're seeing here again, he's not going to be close enough into turn 1, so he's just not going to be able to make that move stick.
Yeah, and I think that's the closest that Sheldon Scott Muscat's been to Wojciech Neuwirth all evening long. Nearly outbraked himself there and nearly went hurtling into the back end of the Vantage V8 GT3 going through Crowthorns. They've now negotiated their way through Barbecue and into the right-hander here at Sunset, and nightfall very much here at the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit based in Midrand in the Gauteng province. As again on the brakes, it looks like the Bentley's got a better purchase in comparison with the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin has the torque and the top speed, and it starts to get away going through the sweeping corners at the S's. Sparks flying from the back suspension of Muscat's Bentley as he throws it through the S's with absolute reckless abandon. Now through into Loikop, into the left-hander, tighter apex taken by Sheldon Scott Muscat, and now could this allow him the opportunity to really carry that momentum through? Headlights ablaze in front on the Bentley. It's into the right-hander here at the Crocodiles. Once again, a little bit of a different line taken by Neuwirth in comparison with Muscat, but Muscat looks to be a little bit more precise on the apexes and a little bit tighter on the apex through Ingwe. And again, the Aston Martin, look, the legs on it. The torque, as soon as Neuwirth pushes that throttle down hard, Muscat has to be really right up close and personal. And again, going down through the kink in towards Crowthorne. Again, Muscat has to abort that run. He can't get past.
I think, despite being shaped like a small yacht, the Bentley is actually the better handling of the two cars, whereas the Aston Martin has the more top speed and the more torque. So, it's kind of strange when you think like the Bentley. You think of Bentleys, they're these big, heavy barges, but it does definitely have the handling and the turning on it. It's even better on the braking from what I saw from a couple of corners. So Sheldon Scott really has to recognize that and use the Bentley's strengths where they lie. Because trying to overtake into Crowthorne or at the end of the into the Crocodiles just isn't going to work for him.
Yeah. Just been having a look through some of the chat in the HyperX channel. David Ohak was having lags every 5 seconds in the second race, so he's basically decided to retire from that one. As Neuwirth wide coming out of the second part of Loikop. Could this be the moment where Muscat is able to move ahead of Neuwirth for the final step on this rostrum? It's gonna be difficult. It really is. But Muscat, we know that he never gives up. It's that Maltese resolve from the driver. As again, he's deep on the brakes. In that Bentley, which is affectionately known in wet weather conditions as the Boatley. I think at one point we had, what was it? One race I called it the Yachtly because obviously it's so big. It was massive amount of rainfall. And here goes Muscat. He's looking. I think what he's trying to do, he's trying to distract Neuwirth.
I was going to suggest that. I was wondering if he's trying to make Neuwirth go defensive when he doesn't need to.
Yes.
That would work maybe the first 2 times, but now Neuwirth knows that he's just going to dive out of the slipstream and then back into it. So I can't imagine that working every single lap.
I think you're 100% right there, Simon. But as they come through Sunset, hold the phone, ladies and gentlemen. Muscat,
he's closer than he's been.
He's getting a bit braver on those brakes, is Sheldon Scott Muscat as they're going through into the S's. And that time, Neuwirth not able to capitalise and get away into the distance like the scalded cow for hot tin roof. I did tell you that the one-liners were not going away, and you might get a few more of them in the next 12 minutes.
Oh, please do.
I can see that's putting a smile to your face, buddy.
Absolutely, I love things like that.
That's the thing. You're going to get a cornucopia of them from me again, look at the back end stepping out to the left-hand side on that Bentley. It's like Sheldon Muscat has grabbed onto the ball with both horns and gone along for the ride, and Neuwirth, I think now, is feeling the pressure, because if Muscat is that well hooked up, the fuel's draining on these cars, and now Muscat is about a car length and a half, maybe 2 car lengths behind. You know, the Aston's going to be punching that hole in that dirty air. Muscat's going to have a little bit of aerodynamic instability at the back end of the car. But the way that he's hooking it up under brakes, I mean, Neuwirth's got reason to be worried right now as we're heading into the last 11 minutes.
Absolutely, and that lap, Muscat didn't dive out the slipstream, so maybe trying to just preserve his exit out of Crowthorne into the Juxai Sweep and Barbecue. I think I've butchered that name, but anyway. Into the following corners.
Yeah.
So he is closer. Every lap he's just gaining that few fractions of a tenth. Look how close he is now. He could very genuinely have a move. And he's going to do it. He's going to go out the inside into Sunset.
There was a little bit of a touch between the pair. I think
he might have let him go.
Yeah, I think the thing is that Sheldon let him go. And the reason being is that Neuwirth had to quickly react. He had to have cat-like reflexes right there and then in order to mitigate any sort of circumstance that might be thrown in his general direction. And I'll be completely honest with you, Sheldon Scott Muscat, Wojciech Neuwirth have given us one of the best battles I have seen in a long time here on World Pro Racing. Bearing in mind, the last event I did was the DTM Friday night event of the Hockenheim Ring, when the BMW DTM Class 1 made its debut on R Factor 2. Literally within a week, we were broadcasting it live here on World Pro Racing.
Yes, I believe I was with you for that race.
Indeed. And Sheldon Muscat doing he's lost a little bit of time now, but I don't think the battle's quite done yet, because look at the run he got coming out of Ingwe. He nailed the apex, buried the throttle when he needed to, bang, the rear tyres caught the asphalt and the traction was absolutely brilliant. But Neuwirth a bit scrappy coming through that 16th and final corner. I think Muscat has got Neuwirth's number, and it's not going to be a case of if, it's going to be a case of when. Does Muscat pull the pin on the grenade and throw it in the general direction of the Aston Martin and gets through for third?
But saying that, we can't discount how incredibly Newart's been defending this entire time. Like, Muscat has thrown corner after corner at him, and Newart's defended them perfectly every single time. So I think I have to agree with you. I think Muscat does have the advantage at this current moment. But yeah, if anyone's going to defend from it, it's going to be Neuwirth. Also, what I should add is behind them in 5th and 6th, Volotia and Boychev are also having a pretty close battle, and we're seeing none of it because this one's just been that entertaining.
Yeah, and that's between two BMWs, and then we go back to Valior Boychev in the number 64, battling with Vyacheslav Volodia in the number 7 BMW. But to be honest with you, they're not quite close enough to each other, unlike Neuwirth and Muscat, who've just gone through the bottom part of the mine shaft. Now into the Crocodiles. Again, Muscat has got this Bentley hooked up on the brakes, and look, Neuwirth nearly opened the door.
Neuwirth ran a bit wide.
He went exit stage left coming out of Crocodiles right there and then. But again, Muscat is he's just biding his time. He's just waiting. I mean, Carly Atkins is 9 seconds up the road from Oscar Saristo on this particular occasion, but Sheldon Scott Muscat is just, he's like one of these little Yorkshire Terriers. They won't leave you alone. That's exactly what he's doing to Wojciech Neuwirth right now. Pardon the pun, but it's actually quite a good reference point, because any sort of canine companion, we've got one here at my house here in the UK, very, very affectionate, very loving. Once you come through the door, you get that bark, you get that, they want all the attention. And that's exactly what Sheldon Scott Muscat has got. I mean, I think out of all the races I've commentated on, this is the one where he's got the most amount of airtime on World Pro Racing, I think, for a very, very long time indeed. And again, they've got past, I'm not too sure who that was they just got past. That might have been Andrea Rizzo.
I believe it was, 98. Yes.
Yeah, in the 98 Aston Martin. Again, Muscat is just hounding Neuwirth, just trying to make the Aston Martin force itself into a mistake, and that's the sign of a good racer.
But I'm going to play devil's advocate here. He's tried time and time again to get past. There's 6 minutes left. If he's going to make this move stick, he doesn't have too many laps left. You'll probably get maybe, again, probably 4 laps to go. So he really has to find where his car is absolutely faster than Neuwirth's and force Neuwirth into a mistake there, so he can just slide up the inside.
Yeah, and if he keeps on keeping it nice and pinned like that, and Neuwirth goes wide coming out of Ingwe, Muscat is going to close in. And again, look, the Bentley's in the tow.
But it's not going to have the speed down the straight, I don't think. Unless he can absolutely send a dive bomb. He's a bit closer, but just not close enough at the bottom of the straight. I feel like his best opportunity is going to be into Sunset or Clubhouse, but he has to set it up properly, and I think that's where he's currently struggling.
Moment. And again, through the S's, the Aston, a little bit of a leeway between the two, a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel for the Aston Martin and Neuwirth. But Muscat is just, he was looking. Now he saw a little bit of an opening there and closed up, going through into Loikop. I'm just wondering One of the other things that is actually helping Sheldon Scott Muscat here is twofold. He's having to use less fuel in comparison with Wojciech Neuwirth. Neuwirth is ripping up his tyres, and there we go! The move's happened! Through the crocodiles, Neuwirth, I think, might have gone a bit too wide, and Muscat was there in the right place at the right time, and he pounced and he got the job done, and that was easy peasy for the Maltese driver.
If I caught it correctly, Neuwirth just lost the back end a little, had to run wide over the curve, and Muscat literally took his normal racing line and got the move done. Which, I mean, I'm sure he's absolutely celebrating in his cockpit. For us, it's kind of like one of those things where just like all that build up and it seems a bit anticlimactic, but congrats to him. Like Sheldon Scott was there in the right place, right time. He pressured Neuwirth for so long. And again, props to Neuwirth as well for having to withstand the pressure for, I think they've been racing for almost 15 minutes, if not more. So it's been absolutely incredible to watch.
Yeah, 4 minutes to go on the clock. And Sheldon Scott Muscat from Malta now gets up into 3rd place. GT Omega RPM Esports Bentley Continental GT3 driver now rounds out the top 3 with Oscar Saaristo from Finland in the number 97 BMW M4 in 2nd. Carly Atkins, after the incident that we will we'll basically say that it was unfortunate for Luke Whitehead, is now 9.7 seconds ahead of the Flying Finn. So Muscat, Neuwirth, Volodya, Boychev, Bunsabo, Otti, Rizzo and Saun, that is your top 10. 10 drivers still circulating, and Carly Atkins has now gone into lap number 34 of this race. I would say that the next time around could possibly be maybe where we get the indicator that it will be the final lap of the race, as Muscat better not do any track cuts in the next two minutes or so, nearly 3 minutes, because if he does anything like that, Neuwirth will be back at him. And it's one thing to be the hunter, but then it's a completely different category when you become the hunted here, Simon, because Muscat now has to be sort of thinking, I can't screw it up right now. I've got 2.5 minutes to go. I've been battling away with Neuwirth until the cows come home, and I don't really want to slip up. And when you have that sometimes on your mind, I know that these racing drivers, these sim racing drivers, a lot of them nowadays are professionals, very, very skilled at what they do. They put hours and hours of seat time, a hell of a lot of work behind the wheel. Sometimes that can be that little bit of doubt that creeps in at the back of the mind in the latter stages, and with 120 seconds to go, I think Muscat's just got to basically just calmly get on with business. He's done exactly what he needed to do, and he's got past Neuwirth when Neuwirth made that unforced error, and I did say it might happen, as Carly Atkins will now go across the line to start the 35th and final lap of this race. Muscat's just got to hang on, hasn't he?
For sure. It's one of those things, after you've spent that long following a car, you especially following a car as closely as Sheldon Scott Muscat did, you kind of get into this rhythm of taking compromised braking points and compromised lines to not run into the car you're racing, especially in Muscat's case, he was faster. So he kind of has to adjust his driving style on the fly for these last 2 laps to go back to his normal braking points and his normal lines to essentially keep his speed up. So yeah, it'll be an interesting challenge for him. But, as you said, these races are so good what they do. They put in so many hours that it'll be a bit of a challenge, but it's one he could very easily overcome.
Yep, so into the last 60 seconds. Carly Atkins, since the incident earlier on, which is around about the 15-minute mark of this 60-minute race, has moved away into the distance. This gap between himself and Oscar Saaristo from Finland in the number 97 now stretches to 11.1 seconds. We're riding on board with the 210 of the Jean Alesi Esports Academy. Jean Alesi, for those that don't already know, ex-Formula 1 driver. His son Giuliano, up until last year, ran in single-seaters as high as the FIA Formula 2 Championship. Now has his own Esports Academy, just like IndyCar sensation and former Formula 1 driver, Mr. Romain Grosjean. A lot of drivers now getting into having their own esports team, as into the final corner. Carly Atkins, timer hits 0 as he comes out of the 16th and final corner. And Carly Atkins flashes the lights across the line, takes the checkered flag. And it could have been a very altogether different story had we not had that incident earlier on in the race. But Oscar Saristo, 5th in the first race, 2nd in the feature race. What a job by the Flying Finn. And here comes Malta's finest, Sheldon Scott Muscat, nearly losing the back end coming out of the final corner. Oh my goodness me. Don't scare everybody watching on TVM Sport, Sheldon. They won't forgive you for that one. And he crosses the line, takes P3 by 9/10 ahead of Wojciech Neuwirth. Vyacheslav Volodya takes 5th ahead of Ivalo Bojchev with Gergely Kunsabo. Tom Otti will cross the line very shortly in 8th position in the number 69 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. Andrea Rizzo very shortly will cross the line to take 9th place ahead of Milis Saun. But Carly Atkins, your feature race winner for the 9th and final time here on the 2021 HyperX Open Series here on World Pro Racing, winning by nearly 11.5 seconds ahead of Finland's Oscar Saristo. There's Sheldon Scott Muscat, the pride of Malta, in the number 14 Bentley Continental GT3. Milis Saun from Estonia out of the final corner. The 777 from Kolb Sim Racing will come across the line and take the checkered. And that's it for the racing here tonight. Well, Simon.
What a fun race.
What a fun race, but also what an interesting evening. I can't say the word fun because we were given a bit of a low blow, let's be completely honest.
I mean, yeah.
In the feature race, but
I'd say entertaining would be the best word to describe it.
That was definitely well put, politically correctly speaking.
Yeah, commiserations for Luke Whitehead.
Yeah.
The rest of the race was very, very enjoyable, except for that 2-minute slot, which was not enjoyable. The rest of it incredible.
It was a bit uncomfortable, to say the very least.
For sure, for sure.
But obviously, as Adrian Figalo said earlier on, that will be dealt with accordingly. So that is now a closed matter as far as myself and Simon are concerned. Hopefully, we're going to have a chat with a couple of our drivers, but we have to say a big thank you to HyperX for their welcome support all the way through the past 8 months, where we've had some fantastic racing at Misano, Silverstone, the Nürburgring, Misano, Spa, Zolder, Imola, Donington Park, and now finally to check off that bucket list, race 9, evening 9 at Kyalami. I think really with initiatives like this where it's not a championship, it's racing for fun, but it's also racing for some pretty cool HyperX prizes. It really just goes to show that here at World Pro Racing, we are about giving back, aren't we?
For sure. And the thing about these races, specifically the Open Series, is that any driver of any skill level can compete with the chance of winning something. As we saw today, races are never set in stone. Positions are never set in stone. So if you're driving around for fun, maybe you finish in 2 5th places, just through random luck, maybe a couple of crashes. You're still going to have fun, you're still going to have that experience and that time put into the race, while also just being around people who maybe have more experience, maybe have less. It's really, really great opportunity for drivers of all skill levels.
We also have to say a big thank you to our other partners that help World Pro Racing carry on as we do. GT Omega Racing, Thrustmaster and AMD. I mean, one of the other things that, you know, when... and this is a bit of a reflective time, I think, for me, because World Pro Racing was one of the organisations I joined, you know, early to middle part of last year when the pandemic was in its initial foray. And to see esports now really becoming a big part of it. Now, right, we're getting a bit of breaking news courtesy of Adrian Figalo in the race, and apparently Neuwirth has been given 3rd position. Oh, now that's very, very interesting indeed.
I assume those are the standing positions.
Probably the standing positions, so hopefully we'll get to speak to all 3 of them but it is getting a bit late at the moment. I know it's 11 o'clock over where you are at the moment,
It
Simon.
is, yes.
So, yeah, so effectively, as Adrian Figallo stated earlier on, Luke Whitehead will still get the HyperX Alloy Elite 2 keyboard. Reference, obviously, the fact that we knew that he was going to be head and shoulders above the field. Of course, Carly Atkins, if effectively, even though he's won the event on the road, despite what has happened, he will also get, I understand, a HyperX Alloy Elite 2 keyboard. Oscar Saristo, our flying Finn, who, as I said, who needs Kimi Räikkönen, who's retiring from Formula 1 at the end of this year. He's going to get a... right, okay. Right, we've got Wojciech Neuwirth with us. Wojciech, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello, guys.
Well, firstly, congratulations, third place after this evening. That was one hell of a battle between you and Sheldon Scott Muscat in the second race. In the deep of night, in Kyalami. Just take us through it, because myself and Simon, I think you guys were battling for the best part of, what was it? Well over 20 minutes?
I think around that time, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at the start, in the second race, I got a great start. Overtook David, who was in contention for me, because he got P3 in the first one. But he ended up getting a stop and go 30, so after that, I just wasn't pushing anymore, and my tires were dying anyways. And then Sheldon came along, and he really wanted to get ahead of me. I was calculating the points in my head while driving, and I thought that he can't get me. I didn't know it was gonna be by 1 point, but yeah, I wasn't defending 100%, but he was really trying.
For saying you weren't defending 100%, you kept him behind you for so long. Like I said, it was probably almost 15 minutes of him trying to get past you and failing. And then, unfortunately, I think on, not the final lap, but like towards the end of the race, you made a small mistake, was it? Is that how he got past
guys?
you? Hello, can you...
Oh, hang on a second.
He might not be able to hear me. I think that's an issue we're having.
Wojciech, really, we noticed that towards the end of the race, I think it was coming through the Crocodiles. I think it was with a couple of laps to go. I think the Aston ran a little bit wide. You said about the tyres, they were definitely at the canvas, weren't the virtual canvas come the end of the race, weren't they? Because you've done such a stellar job holding off Sheldon for so long.
Oh yeah, the tyres were gone. I checked at the end, there were 2.1 significant graining and some flat spots as well. Definitely couldn't do another stint on those.
Obviously, because taking third overall this evening, you win yourself a HyperX Pulsefire Haste Mouse, so congratulations, well done tonight.
Thank you guys, thank you for hosting the race.
No problem at all, so Wojciech Neuwirth there. Next up, our resident flying Finn, Oscar Saristo, second this evening, congratulations, well done.
Thank you.
That BMW M4 in your hands is a lethal weapon. We were like, myself and Simon were completely bamboozled. You know, P5, I mean, qualifying wasn't the best, let's be completely honest, but P5 in race 1 and then race 2, you just absolutely nailed it. I mean, that car is an absolute gem, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I love it. It's such a good car to drive. I mean, yeah, the BOP might be a bit off currently with it being a completely new car to this GT series anyways. But yeah, I also had I think I had the advantage of running lower fuel than I think Atkins was running a full tank. I'm not quite sure about that, but yeah, I had a half tank, so I had quite a good pace there.
And how was the degradation on the tyres? Because myself and Simon, we were talking about different strategies, you know, putting in fuel, you know, a fresh set of tyres on it, putting in a full tank of fuel. How is the tyre degradation on the M4? Because it's quite interesting to see a new car to be, as you said, BOP notwithstanding, how quick it was out of the blocks.
Yeah, I mean, my tires were actually really good all the way through. I didn't have any graining or anything on my tires, and I think if this was a long 24-hour race, I think those tires could have been ran for one more stint even.
Okay. That's very interesting to know. But yeah, I mean, to cap off this final HyperX Open Series, you've now won yourself a HyperX Cloud Alpha S headset. So congratulations and well done tonight.
Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting this great event.
No problem at all. Oscar Saristo there, our runner-up tonight. And we go to our winner, Carly Atkins. Carly, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Good. Good to actually finally catch up with you in real life at Wilton Mill earlier on this year. So that was one bit of a highlight when I caught up with you and quite a few other drivers that have come from karting and moved over to esports a little bit. But tonight was a bit of an interesting one. I mean, you really tried to put the frightness on Luke Whitehead in qualifying. I think it was, what is it, about a tenth and a half, 2 tenths between the pair of you, and you using the BMW. The car really seems to have given us a nice, interesting spice up in terms of the cars that are currently on the ACC platform. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I'd say the BMW is quite a strong car. Obviously, I haven't had a lot of practice in it. This is my second proper time in the car, and just ran aggressive preset, changed a few stuff. But if I'm being honest, I just didn't have the pace of Luke. He drove an amazing race in race 1. Race 2, he drove an amazing race, and then don't really know what happened, but I saw him go off. Really unfortunate for him, as should have been his win, but as a driver I take that and just continue on with my race and manage to take the win.
Well, I mean, Carly, firstly, you've taken the top prize tonight, which will be a HyperX Alloy Elite 2 keyboard, so congratulations, and hopefully we'll see you back on World Pro Racing in the not too distant future.
Thank you. I'd also like to shout out Mrs. Thomas for watching, and hope you get better. I'd also like to say massive thanks to my sponsor, Tim Blacksmith, who supports me throughout my racing career, and I'm really blessed to have someone like Tim Blacksmith throughout. I'd also like to say massive thanks to Stellar Songs as well for coming on my racing journey as well. It's been a pleasure, and thank you to World Pro Racing for hosting such an amazing event.
Well, Carly, congratulations tonight, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you very much for tonight.
Thank you.
Well, really, Simon, that's it from us tonight. Really good to hear from the top 3 after what's been an interesting journey in the HyperX Open Series for 2021, hasn't it?
Definitely. Shame I couldn't talk to them myself, but they seem like 3 very sweet lads. Very happy for them. They deserve all the congratulations. They all drove really well. Same as Luke Whitehead. Nothing but congratulations for him as well. Incredible, incredible drives today.
Well, we have to say a big thank you to everyone watching on all the World Pro Racing live streams, so on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook Live. Big thank you for everyone tuning in on the Esports Television Network, TVM Sport in Malta, and motorsport.tv. A big thank you as always to HyperX, where we're all gamers, AMD, GT Omega Racing, and Thrustmaster for their continued support of us here at World Pro Racing. And until next time, World Pro Racing is where sim racing becomes real. See you later. See you next time.
Have a good night.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.